Here's a quick podcast for all you true crime fans. The case of the missing Reeses. It was me at the store with my mouth. Motive? They're Reeses. What was I going to do? Stop myself? Tune in next time to see if I do it again. Spoiler, I will. Wow, that had everything. Reeses, suspense, Reeses.
Why have I asked my electrician I found on Angie.com to bury my pet hamster? I was so moved by how carefully he buried my electrical wires, I knew I could trust him to bury my sweet nibbles after his untimely end.
This is very strange.
Angie, the one you trust to find the ones you trust. Find pros for all your home projects at Angie.com.
There's no place to escape to.
This is the last podcast.
On the left. That's when the cannibalism started.
What was that?
I think it's important to get the funny stuff out up top.
Yeah, okay.
Because today's episode is about a funny person in a way.
Yeah,
it's like a super funny guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, some people found him to be amusing at times.
I think that's the term most for him, right? It's
amusing.
He's amusing, and so maybe we can, maybe keep it a little light up top.
Okay.
Sure. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Jimmy Savile.
Jimmy Savile who?
I think you fucking know.
What do you mean?
What's going on here?
Are you attacking me?
Yes.
Are you afraid to answer the questions?
I know for the fact that you knew what was going on the whole time. And you hid it. And I knew you fucking knew something. And I fucking can't believe that you were part of the fucking problem.
I didn't hide it. I just didn't do anything about it.
Welcome to the last podcast on the left, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marcus Parks. I'm here with the indignant, rage-filled Henry Zabrowski.
This might be the most angry I've been. I think that I like Heinrich Himmler more.
Wow.
I think that I could spend a longer lunch with Heinrich Himmler than today's subject.
I will say, all right, okay, hear about this. Himmler tried to do stuff for other people.
Interesting. Interesting concept. That's a good intro for Eddie.
And we have, according to Henry's bit, former employee at the BBC, Ed Larson, with us.
What's going on? What's going on?
I'm just one of those. Oh, don't see nothing. Don't see nothing. That's actually going to be a common catchphrase for the next 8 hours of this series. Didn't see nothing.
Well, once he goes behind closed doors, what am I going to do?
What am I to do? He's just a man.
You have to trust a guy who's got 10 flats and a rape van.
Yeah, that's always, At least he keeps it moving,
Correction, rape caravan. Today, we are on to the second head on our Mount Rushmore of Evil. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to finally reveal it. It's Jimmy Savile.
Now, you were going to immediately, I can hear people being like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this. But we had a really strong case as to why he's our British head.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it. Let's start making that case. So, Sir Jimmy Savile was one of the most prolific sexual predators that England has ever produced. A cunning, devious sociopath who used his fame as a broadcaster to rape, molest, and sexually abuse hundreds, if not thousands, of children, teenagers, and adults. And he did all of this while he used charitable activities as a smokescreen for his crimes.
I will say thousands might not be an exaggeration.
No.
Yeah, and also, if saying that he's one of the worst in England ever is making him pretty high up for all time.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. Because now he's got Andrew, formerly known as, hanging out there. He got his father hanging out there. They got a lot of guys.
A lot of kings. You got the guy who rewrote the Bible.
Everybody fucking sucks.
Yeah, it's the Big Lebowski joke. Puts him in the running for laziest in the world. Now, even though Jimmy Savile's reign of terror lasted throughout the second half of the 20th century, his crimes unfortunately came to light only after his death in 2011, although rumors about Savile's proclivities had existed since the 1960s. But even with the rumors, Jimmy Savile was perhaps the most famous British citizen of the 20th century who was almost entirely unknown outside of the United Kingdom. See, Savile's shtick as a working-class British weirdo didn't really work anywhere else in the world because Savile's sinister machinations were so specifically tailored to the British.
A lot of vinegar, a lot of mayonnaise.
But while his non-British cultural footprint was so small that we didn't even know how to properly pronounce his name in America when his crimes came to light, we called him Jimmy Savile for years.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy Savile was an institution unto himself in the United Kingdom for nearly half a century. Jimmy Savile was in fact perceived as a hero. He was an example of the best of Britain. He raised over £40 million for charities throughout his life. And that's from the 1960s up until the 2000s. I mean, considering inflation, it's hundreds of millions.
Yeah. He was truly considered, more than anything, a philanthropist.
Yeah. He lent most of his support to institutions like the Duncroft-approved School for Girls, Leeds General Infirmary, Stoke Mandeville Hospital, and the Broadmoor Mental Hospital. Each of those institutions were filled with vulnerable people, and since Savile's contributions and his fame earned the trust of the administrators, he was often given unlimited access to patients in various states of vulnerability. These institutions, of course, were where Jimmy Savile found a large portion of his victims.
Now, I remember we had a long debate when we were choosing the heads, because I will even give you a clue as to the other two heads after this, is that they are way more in the traditional aspect of the most evil men in the world, sure. Right? Where are giant systemic changes, massive, world-changing, fucked up shit. But with Jimmy Savile, what we wanted to do, for me, this meant a lot to me to do, because I think that what he did in his crimes show truly one of the most unabashed evil behaviors that a human being can do, which is take the most sacred art form of entertaining people, I literally do believe the idea of the entertainer, and you earn an audience's trust. And then the idea of somebody taking that very, very, very pure relationship and using it solely for rape is a thing that we're just seeing a lot of. And I think that it's a truly 20th century issue. And we have one for president.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of why this means a lot to me.
Yeah. And you're trying to take back the haircut.
Yes. I do have a lot of opinions. I have a lot of opinions, too. Because unfortunately, Jimmy Savile, of all of the evilest fucks in the whole world, he looked good, right? In my mind, he had some funny looks. Rob, you're shaking your head. You don't understand.
No.
He
That's
looks
Rob
like
shaking his head. Him saying that you don't look good.
Yeah, that's fine. I understand. It's not his job. It's not his job. Yeah. He looks like Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
Accidentally, but people all said, "Oh, he's this kooky thing," but the look was one of the most important aspects of his entire personality.
It really was.
Now, as far as why Jimmy Savile was famous in the UK, he got in on the ground floor when pop music became important in the late 50s and especially in the early 60s. His audience was therefore permanently between the ages of 13 and 18, teenagers, and he had the advantage of already being in his 30s when the British music scene exploded. See, besides being a radio DJ and an established personality on the BBC, Savile was, starting in 1964, the first presenter of the legendary British countdown show Top of the Pops, which was something like a cross between American Bandstand and Total Request Live. It ran from 1964 until, I think, 2006.
Damn, it went that long.
Yeah. If it helps our American audiences, you can think of Jimmy Savile as playing much the same role as Dick Clark, Carson Daly, or Ryan Seacrest. But the power and the fame that those men had or still have in America, it pales in comparison to what Jimmy Savile enjoyed in the United Kingdom.
He also got a little dusting of a Bill Cosby to him in terms of his love of children, or his involvement with children.
I mean, more than a dusting of Bill Cosby. I think
Bill Cosby's much funnier.
He is, of course. Bill Cosby, he wrote jokes.
Yeah. Bill Cosby is the reason why I'm a comedian. Yeah, he inspired me as a little boy.
Yeah, but the idea of a beloved institution being proved to be an absolutely vile human being. Yeah, Bill Cosby is the best one-to-one analog between America and the UK.
Because also his connections to the civil rights movement, what he meant to America. Bill Cosby was shown as this being like, look, he's this healthy example of an African-American father raising his family. He's a professional. He's in all in the ads and all the stuff. And then
a fantastic jazz musician.
Yeah.
Like his taste in jazz, man, we used to get in college. Anytime a new Bill Cosby thing came out, we lost our minds.
Yeah, dude, I fucking...
You just can't be anywhere near a hammock when I'm setting it up.
Yeah. When I went to fucking see Herbie Hancock, right when I moved to New York City, Carnegie Hall, the whole night was hosted by fucking Bill Cosby. It was the coolest thing in the world in the moment.
Yeah.
Do you remember right before he was all the shit hit the fan too? He was about to go back on tour and he was doing shows.
Was all booked. It was all. He was doing 2-hour shows.
And what did it do to you when everything came out about Bill Cosby?
I was fucking destroyed. I was fucked up for like a year about it, you know, and then I got obsessed with it and studying it, and everybody was. And just like Jimmy Savile, that's how he got away with it. It's because nobody wanted to fucking believe that it was true.
Nobody wanted to believe because of how much we put in on these guys.
Yeah. To that point, Jimmy Savile was also the host of the wildly popular children's show Jim'll Fix It, in which Savile acted as a sort of fairy godmother with a harsh Yorkshire accent. Children from across the UK would write letters asking Jimmy to make their wishes come true, no matter how silly or outlandish they might be. Think of Jim'll Fix It like Make-A-Wish, but if it wasn't just open to kids who were sick or dying.
Yeah, if it wasn't just a bummer. Actually, that sucks, man. You got to you have to get sick to meet John Cena.
Yeah, but that is true. It is Make-A-Wish without the bummer. You know, it's just making kids happy. And the wish fulfillments, that was just content. That was what they filmed, so the kids could say and do the darndest things. Yeah. For example, one kid might ask to meet Donnie and Marie Osmond, and Jim will fix it, and he'll make that happen. Another kid, actually a listener just wrote in with a picture of his father with Jimmy Savile. He said that his friend was a guest on Jim will fix it, and his friend asked if he could be one of Santa's elves at the North Pole for an afternoon, and Jimmy Savile made it happen. My personal favorite is the little girl who wanted to be a rat.
Oh, okay.
And they just dressed her up as a rat, and she awkwardly wandered around the studio dressed as a rat, just going...
British kids have all the wrong dreams.
Yeah, they're all
like... be a slave making toys, or I want to be a rat.
I'd love to maybe hold some coal. I wonder what it's like to feel some heat. Oh, what is it like to be inside a house?
Maybe it's just because rats have teeth.
Yeah.
That is cute.
I guarantee you there was one kid who asked, what's it like to be a chimney sweep? I guarantee you. But even though Jimmy Savile hated children and openly said so on multiple occasions, even while Jim will fix it was still on the air, he said, I don't like children. I don't like them. He knew it was good TV. And the show ran for decades as one of the BBC's mainstays. I think it was on the air for 20 years.
Yeah. Well, in the Louis Theroux thing, he always said that he hated children to, like, deflect from any accusations.
No, he's a piece of fucking shit. Yeah, Jimmy Savile literally said the term. He was like, because he couldn't say he likes kids because then he'll get done up like Mike Jackson, right? Like, that was his whole thing, is that they'll come from him like, because he called him Mike.
Oh, of course he called him Mike.
Yeah, he called him Mike Jackson. Yeah. And so they yes, but we'll go even, this is the story of his whole miserable, evil life.
And that was just something that he said that to Louis Theroux years later in an interview he did in 1991. He just straight up said, like, yeah, I don't like kids. I don't have to like kids to do this show.
It was the way he said it, because it was this, he openly said, because it's just a hard thing to even get in the weeds on, of how he was saying openly what his crimes are and what he was doing. So, but to comedic effect. So when he was saying stuff like, oh, I hate kids, I use them for their opportunities. Yeah. These people are all smiling because they're like, simple country man saying it like it is. Yeah. Like, he doesn't really mean it. Obviously, he loves
joke.
kids.
It sounds like a fucking joke.
No, but he never said a single joke in his life.
Yeah. But while you'd think that Jim will fix it was Savile's one-way ticket straight to pedophile town. You'd think. It was more his work in the music business and the world of charity that gave Savile most of his opportunities to commit criminal sexual acts.
Where is pedophile town?
I think it's in Ohio, right?
No, we all know it's in Florida.
Well, that's where they vacation.
See, while Jimmy Savile is primarily known as a pedophile, or pedophile, as the British say.
Yes, it's cuter that way.
I think just calling him a pedophile, that greatly narrows the scope of Jimmy Savile's evil. He abused not only prepubescent children of both sexes, but also infants, teenagers, adults, invalids, and at times, the elderly. His youngest victim was 2, his oldest was 75. And that's what we know.
Yes.
Those are the people putting complaints.
Yes. Through his charitable works, Jimmy Savile gained unsupervised access to patients with spinal injuries and mental illness, people who were being treated in England's hospitals. And it was in these hospitals that Savile would rape hundreds of helpless, disabled, and sick people of all ages. There were even rumors of necrophilia.
And that shit, honestly, I do think there's kernels.
There is, and we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
So that's all to say that if Jimmy Savile thought that he could get away with abusing someone sexually, he did it. Because Jimmy Savile's most dangerous supervillain power was an innate understanding of where the line was, what he could get away with. And he therefore constructed an entire life that was designed solely to fulfill those twisted carnal desires.
Yeah, because he was very, unfortunately, kind of smart. And
He was fucking brilliant.
He was wildly smart. They believed he had his IQ tested in his 30s at 151. He was he's wildly smart and has no emotional base. He keeps saying stuff like, I have no feelings. And I actually believe in many ways he does not have feelings. But what they say with psychopathy and sociopathy is that it actually does sometimes fire up your emotional IQ in a different way, where you don't understand your own emotions, but you can actually gain access to how other people feel a little bit easier when your own feelings are not in play. So he actually has more clear-headed view of all times of how to manipulate people.
Yeah, he understands people on a different level. And it's like one of those things when, like, if every single person is your friend, then nobody's your friend.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, everything's shallow.
Yeah.
There's nobody in there except for old Jim the Pill. I don't like Jim the Pill.
I don't either. Now, Savile had a carefully crafted public persona that was years in the making. He realized from a young age that there were, as he put it, opportunities in being different. For those dazzled by his celebrity, the descriptors that came up again and again in relation to Jimmy Savile were oddball, eccentric, a bit weird. And all that is true. He was really fucking weird. He acted weird, and he looked weird. His hair was bleached and cut in the old school British page boy style, straight and shoulder length. And he dressed mostly in tracksuits or in costumes. And he would never explain the costume's purpose. He dressed up as a pharaoh and not tell anyone why he was dressed as a pharaoh. In other words, Jimmy Savile lived his life as a clown. And as John Wayne Gacy so famously put it, clowns get away with murder.
He is one of those accidental, magical figures that is hard to describe, because when he talks about the power of oddness, he is literally channeling Aleister Crowley. He is talking in the way of Anton LaVey. He is talking about the very core of Carney-like personal enchantment that you'll find in The Satanic Witch, all these other books. He's talking about it naturally. He understood naturally this idea of, I create an unbelievable silhouette, an iconic version of myself. You'll never believe I have a real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he understood true opportunity.
I become an otherworldly person. You treat me like an otherworldly person, which means I don't have the same rules as you.
That's true. But for those who saw past the celebrity in their interactions with Jimmy Savile, he was clocked as creepy for decades. The descriptors that those people used, going back to the 50s, were intimidating, combative, and most often menacing. Jimmy Savile openly and proudly said in multiple interviews that he had no emotions towards others, that he didn't have feelings, and what you saw was what you got. In other words, he was very much admitting to being a full psychopath without actually saying the word. But for the British people, all that was waved away as him just being eccentric, refreshing, really. And Savile thrived at a time when it was not only accepted in England to say that you didn't really give a fuck about other people, but you could be applauded for it, admired for it, and emulated. Thank you, Margaret fucking Thatcher.
Yeah.
And we're right back in it.
Yep. And we are very much
right back in the we're right back in it.
Back in the sauce where it's okay. You're supposed to say, I don't care about anybody else. I care about me and my family and that's it, but I don't care about anybody else.
That's why it's a pedophile government. Like literally, like like before. Like
it's one of those things because you're watching this and you're like, it's so. I mean, obviously hindsight, but like it's so obvious.
Yeah.
Well,
that he's such a fucking creep and a horrible human being.
But again, that's the power. That's the magic.
Yeah.
That is literally what you mean by enchantment. Is that your thoughts are bouncing off the shield that he has created, and it's thick.
Yeah, it's truly a bewitchment.
Yes.
Yeah, he might as well have ran like a teen beauty pageants.
Yeah, weird, right? I feel like it's the one thing he didn't do.
But speaking of the arch-conservative British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, Jimmy Savile was extremely close to this incredibly powerful villain. Him and Margaret Thatcher were friends. And in the end, Savile would not have gotten away with his crimes without facing an ounce of consequence had it not been for the powerful connections he made throughout his career. Connections like Margaret Thatcher. Jimmy Savile had so much influence in the United Kingdom that he was able to test his luck with the most powerful people in the country. Like the time he licked Princess Diana right around the time he received his knighthood from the Queen.
And again, all of these are fun and games. If it didn't turn out he was molesting
No, it wouldn't be fun and games.
But
you can't
lick the princess.
You can't lick a woman.
I try not to. I'm just saying.
I couldn't lick. You can't lick someone that you just meet. You can't lick people.
You can't
Jim Carrey did it that one time in the video awards.
Ed, you're right. You can't lick a dog.
It'd be different, whatever. Let's continue.
It's going to be a lot of hairy territory.
I'll lick a princess.
But even though Jimmy Savile assaulted the princess of the realm, perhaps the most beloved person in all of England, his influence over the culture was so dominant that the licking was simply another indignity for Diana to endure after she joined the pit of vipers that was the British royal family. Savile actually had an extensive and close relationship with all of the royals, specifically the man who is now King Charles. He was, of course, Prince Charles back then. And as we now know, the royal family is full of pedophiles and sexual monsters. Monsters like Prince Andrew or Lord Mountbatten, who also has the nickname Lord Mountbottom. And his heinous and incredibly underreported crimes are going to be covered in episode 3.
Marcus.
Yes, sir.
2 words. Netflix UK.
Yeah, and can we get in there?
I just say, hey guys, it's just like we see they don't like this kind of talk.
Yeah, hey man, it's too fucking late, dude. Stop hiring them.
We're fucking going out, man.
Yeah, man.
It's interesting because it's so hard to find the stuff that BBC put out about Jimmy Savile.
Oh, they
did
buried it.
everything they could to bury it from America. I don't give a shit. I'm torrenting it.
I literally couldn't get a hold of the Louis Theroux episode. I had to go find it through other means.
Because there's 2 of them. There's one, the first one, that's on Daily Motion, and the second one's on what? What is it?
Right, you don't even think I was on fucking, I don't even.
Yeah.
Disgusting Place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll find it.
Yeah, it's out there. I had to go find it.
Well, speaking of the BBC, this is not just the story of one man's sociopathy. This is also the story of how that psychopath was protected by the powers that be at every turn. See, the reason why people refer to Savile mostly as a pedophile is because his main victim pool was young teenage girls. And this was an open secret at the BBC for decades. In fact, there is footage of Jimmy Savile goosing a teenage girl repeatedly during an episode of Top of the Pops. It's like they're coming back from a commercial and he's goosing. She's going, stop, and he's just fucking staring at the camera, delivering his lines. It is so obvious that it is insane that no one said anything publicly at the time. But the fact that many of Savile's crimes happened on BBC property ensured that Jimmy Savile was always protected by the BBC. Additionally, Jimmy Savile was such a surefire moneymaker for the BBC that they did everything they could to protect his reputation even after his death. There were a lot of episodes of Jim Will Fix It that could have run forever. Stories about his crimes that were held back while he was alive for fear of libel suits were still spiked by the BBC in the months after his passing. And mostly the BBC did this to protect their fucking programming schedule because they had planned multiple tributes to Savile's life that were set to be aired during the 2011 Christmas season because there's nothing that the British love more than a Christmas special.
You know, I just found out John Lithgow was talking about how the only movie he's really known for in the UK is his Christmas movie, the Santa Claus movie.
My God, no, like the Doctor Who Christmas special, The Office, the British go nuts for Christmas specials.
I think it's the most British holiday.
Christmas?
Yes.
Yeah.
In my mind.
And I've spent a Christmas in Britain. It is magical.
Because there's something about, it's like little socks. There's something about everybody's at the chimney.
Yeah, lots of chimneys.
Lots of chimneys. There's something about big fat man coming in the house at night, fucking eating your food.
Mm-hmm.
Big British thing.
The hats.
Yeah.
They like the paper hats, the crackers.
They love all that stupid stuff.
King Wenceslas.
Yeah, fucking horse shit.
Who was Polish.
Yeah. But also, my question is it doesn't... But isn't their main thing is because their libel and slander laws are really serious in the UK?
Very serious.
And that's kind of the... Not to explain BBC's behavior at all. It's not like in America where people go back and forth on defamation all the time and nothing really happens. Like, you can lose a fuck ton of money.
Yeah, it can be pretty serious. Like you have to have a headshot if you're going to do something like that. But that can kind of sort of explain why the BBC didn't want to print any stories while he was still alive.
No, they did it to protect their reputation, but it's only because they could be sued for the rest of their lives.
Maybe.
I think.
I mean, maybe.
Well, that and, their studios were his playground.
Oh, I remember. Felicia Rashad showed me when I went to go do, I was shooting in southern Brooklyn, and I went to go, that was where the Cosby Show was shot, and she showed me his special nap room. I'll always remember that. One of the most special memories of my life.
Wow.
Yes. Truly one of the nicest, happiest memories I'd ever had up until that point.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then still.
I love that. I took a nap. I just slapped there. I took my pants. Honestly, just to kind of celebrate Bill, I took my pants out of my ankles and I fell asleep right there. But he didn't come.
Oh, he didn't come?
No, I never. I thought that he would be like the Tooth Fairy.
You thought he'd show up?
I'm gonna see comes here. It's time for the ass fairy. Come up and the dude. He's gonna try what? Oh no, it's too late. It's the dude. I'm coming inside the dude.
See, that's the thing. It's like, you know what? That's one of those. You can keep right up here. We'll keep moving.
Keeping the Ed head.
Yeah,
keeping that
I
head.
think we're getting a couple of those this time.
Yeah. No, people still, it's amazing how hard this hold on celebrity people can have. Because, I was telling you guys, we had to use a notary to sign some documents the other day. And this dude, openly told it, we were like, yeah, we used to live in Brooklyn. And he's like, oh, yeah. I'm a huge Cosby Show fan.
Yep. Wow.
The show, the Cosby Show. I love Bill Cosby, but the show, and it's like, dude, it is 2026.
Dude, there's a bunch of shows that have happened in Brooklyn.
Plenty of shows.
A lot of Brooklyn shows.
And I had to get through it, so I was just like, yeah, I used to live in Bed-Stuy. That's where they're at, those brownstones. Because his whole thing was he loved the brownstones.
He's not wrong.
Interesting.
But if you're asking why Jimmy Savile is one of the heads on our Mount Rushmore of evil instead of, say, another notorious sexual monster with connections to multiple powerful institutions, there are two reasons why Savile beats out the other obvious contender here, Jeffrey Epstein. For one, the story of Jeffrey Epstein is nowhere near over.
Nope.
His story changes and grows with every drop of information that comes out. And we can't tell his story because we simply still don't know what Jeffrey Epstein's story is.
And that's why he won. Legitimately, he is in heaven celebrating every day.
Now, you're talking about Savile?
Jeffrey Epstein.
You're talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you don't think Savile made it to heaven?
Oh, no, yeah, he's right there. Charlie Kirk, Jimmy Savile, Michael Jackson, they all finally get to see each other again. It's one of the nicest places in the world because we know that Jimmy Savile died with a smile on his face.
He did.
Yeah.
Secondly, Jeffrey Epstein never pretended to be good. Savile, on the other hand, used the trust of the British people and the levers of charity as constant opportunities to fulfill his most deviant desires. Savile perverted good for the sake of committing pure evil, and he inflicted that psychic destruction across an entire country in the process. This is true evil. This is the type of evil that makes people less trusting of each other. This is the type of evil that destroys people's faith in humanity and therefore makes the world a far worse place. And that shit spiders out across in 2026. That shit spiders out across the globe.
It's so much pain.
Yeah.
It's so much pain he caused. And the thing about Epstein, too, I really believe in many ways, of all of the things, he only existed because of the systemic needs for a guy like him.
Yeah.
He filled a lot of purposes for a lot of guys. He was on Jeffrey Epstein's own team. He worked for the Russians, the Israelis, and us. He did all in one. He was a constant player. But in the end, he was making money off of institutionalized businesses, like, using finance and using all this kind of shit. So it's like to him, Jeffrey Epstein, unfortunately, still was a pedophile second, right? He was a international man of mystery first.
Yeah.
Then he was a pedophile. Pedophile is what he did to relax, right? Being a spy was what he was doing for work. So Jimmy Savile, though, the only thing he was concentrated on was rape.
Yeah, just a sexual predator through and through. He built his entire life around that.
Yes.
Yeah. And Savile, he wasn't like he didn't. Did he do it for other people too? Like, did he did he sell people?
I don't know. He did not sell
he-
people, but he shared people.
Yeah, it was all, but at the end of the day, it really was just all about Jimmy Savile. And it wasn't about, because like with Epstein, a lot of it was about gaining power, gaining leverage, gaining connections. With Savile, it was just about him all the time.
Last Podcast on the Left is excited to collaborate with Audible. Audible has a massive range of ad-free crime fiction, nonfiction, and true crime podcasts. There's so many things you could do while you're listening to an audiobook. You can clean up your own personal crime scene, and that's easy to do, and you can learn it all from books. Some people also listen to audiobooks to go to sleep. But you could check out podcasts like This American Life, titles from true crime greats like Michael Connelly and Agatha Christie, and Audible originals like Dr. Death, The Cowboy. You can find whatever you're looking for on Audible. Plus, you can multitask while you do it. Find your next mystery on Audible. Audible. Stories that speak to you. New members can start listening with a 30-day free trial at audible.com/left. Summer means freedom. And for adults, summer means work next to freedom. But thanks to Mint Mobile's summer sale, it can almost feel like the work is playtime for the adults. Right now, all of Mint's plans are $15 per month, even unlimited. Free yourself from big wireless and switch to Mint Mobile for high-speed data and coverage on the T-Mobile 5G network. It's so well connected, I could call from anywhere, deep from well within my bunker, where my AI-fueled robots slowly but surely toil for me, but I know for a fact I'm saving money on my phone plan. Or up above, where I'm training all of my giant Amazon female warriors who will fight in bulletproof mesh. Also, honestly, Mint Mobile's really cheap and it's really reliable, so you should use it. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/LPOTL. That's mintmobile.com/LPOTL. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/LPOTL. That's it. There's no catch. Upfront payment of $45 per 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12 months. Plan required, $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Includes up to 20 gigabyte hotspot. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. You tired of spending way too much time trying to figure out your finances? Welcome to the club. Rocket Money makes it easy. Like Sunday morning. With Rocket Money, you can track subscriptions and have the ability to cancel unwanted ones in just a few taps. You know how many times I subscribed to mustard clubs? Those mustards, they are not cheap. You can set budgets and goals, get personalized insights and regular reports, and receive real-time alerts for large transactions, upcoming bills, refunds, and low balances, all in the Rocket Money app. Why don't you get yourself some ketchup, some relish, with all that money you're saving? Maybe a hot dog.
if you got a death wish. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals easier. Join at rocketmoney.com/LPOTL. That's rocketmoney.com/LPOTL. rocketmoney.com/LPOTL.
Rise from your grave.
Now, we used a lot of sources for this series, but our main source is an incredible book called In Plain Sight by Dan Davies. Goes a little too deep on the BBC drama. It's a bit of a, he took the plane to the train to the, and so on and so forth. But it is still a fascinating look into the life of Jimmy Savile.
The opening chapter is haunting in that book. It's great.
Yeah. And that book is supplemented by The Beast by John McShane and The Untouchable Jimmy Savile by Sean Atwood, as well as multiple articles and documentaries that exist about Jimmy Savile.
Now, did this all come out after he? None of these came out before he died.
Not a single one.
No.
Not a single story came out about, like an actual story. Not a single one came out when Jimmy Savile was still alive.
I definitely had never heard of his existence before the Netflix series.
Yeah. And so, without further ado, let's get into the life of one of the UK's greatest monsters, the second head on our Mount Rushmore of Evil, Sir Jimmy Savile. So James Wilson Vincent Savile was born on what other day but Halloween 1926 in the industrial northern English city of Leeds. Savile's family was Catholic, and as the youngest of 7 children, 5 years younger than the Savile family's 6th child, Jimmy always referred to himself as the not-again child, unwanted and unexpected. His father was Vince Savile, a butcher's assistant in the straight world who had a knack for numbers. This made him exceptional at his real money-making endeavor, managing bets on horse races. He was a black market bookie. This was at a time when most gambling was still illegal in Britain.
And normally you had a bet. It would be you'd get 2 wet old women, and guys would stand with coins. Mm-hmm. The goal is to throw coins at their wet clothes until it filled their clothes, their pants, like their pantaloons enough that the pants would slowly slide down, and they'd bet on which one would hit the ground first.
Oh, like, and if your coin was the one that took the trousers down, you would get all the coins in the trousers?
They'd also race hogs and boys.
Oh, interesting. I mean, that I'd pay to see.
Of course.
I hate gambling, but I put some money on the hog.
Honestly, in the end, you're just supporting farms.
From what we know from our coverage about Fred and Rose West and Peter Sutcliffe, by the way, he's going to make a couple of appearances later on in this story.
Great!
Cool.
Northern England is indeed seedy as fuck. It's got some incredibly dark corners where horrific shit happens on a regular basis. It is very similar to the American South.
Because it's also idolized, right? It's idealized.
It's idealized. It's the working class part of England. It's where, you get your factories, you get your farmers. That's Yorkshire's farming land.
Your scrum.
Yes.
Hope you like scrum.
Yeah.
You like a scrum?
Hold on. So old York sucked.
Yeah. Yep. Old York sucked. New York, great.
All right.
Much better.
Hell yeah.
Formerly New Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Well, even before Jimmy Savile was born, his father Vince was involved in the black market that thrived in Leeds. Later, Jimmy Savile described Leeds as a city of sin with illegal gambling and sex workers galore. And while Jimmy Savile exaggerated and lied a lot, he was not lying about that. Leeds was fucking rough. Now, Jimmy Savile would often describe his father as almost a non-entity in his life. Savile said he demanded nothing from his father, and his father demanded nothing from him. Likewise, Jimmy's 6 siblings barely rate a mention when Jimmy would spin his own myth.
And he would say, I had an incredibly close relationship with my father. That was like the whole thing, right? Which is, he was his perfect example of a relationship in which 2 people sit in a room and say nothing to each other. Now, I'm not even exaggerating. Yeah. He says that the reason why they were so close is because they never had a conversation.
And what about, are any of his siblings still alive?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and do they?
Well, maybe. I don't know.
Because he's the youngest.
Probably not. Yeah, probably not. Actually,
no, they can't be. Just look at doing the numbers in my head.
He paid them off as well.
Yeah, you think so?
Yes,
because they said nothing.
They said nothing, but they didn't know necessarily. They were not a part of his life. They became satellites that he would pay off.
Yeah. But the person that loomed incredibly large over Jimmy's life was his mother, Agnes, whom Jimmy always called the Duchess. She was the only person in Jimmy's life that he spoke about on a regular basis, and it has been suggested that Jimmy was exceedingly close to the Duchess in ways that were unhealthy, to say the least.
Super old school British.
Yeah.
Because they invented incest, right?
Yeah, the British definitely invented incest. At least, mother-son incest.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, as author John McShane put it...
You sure it wasn't the Greeks?
No. Actually, they frowned upon incest. That was one of the things that they would punish in ancient cultures.
Well, as author John McShane put it, we'll never know just how strong the bond was between Jimmy Savile and the Duchess, nor will we know just how far the relationship went.
Which is a really gross thing, considering you're all considering how close a mother and son can be.
Yeah. Oh, so you guys are talking about them fucking.
I'm being subtle about it.
Good work,
do you get how subtle I'm being about that?
Yeah. There's a little detective work in this series.
Well, all we know is that whatever went on between the two of them was intense and secretive, and Savile always maintained that his mother was the only true love of his life. Other people, however, describe the Duchess as denigrating and rejecting, and it's been said that Savile's relationship with his mother led him to believe that all women were controlling and castrating. Jimmy Savile therefore never formed a meaningful bond with any woman throughout his life, aside, of course, from the unhealthy bond he had with the woman that he always referred to as the Duchess.
Yeah, the thing that haunted me that I heard him say multiple times was that he didn't like being with women for more than 2 hours because it would give him brain damage.
The brain damage thing was his cute thing about women needing the idea of having another human need things from you.
Yeah, and his idea, which makes me realize that his idea of brain damage would be, I guess, a conscience.
Yeah, feeling an emotion.
Yeah,
it's brain damage. Yeah, if you any sort of attachment is brain damage. And actually, that is exactly what it is, because he also uses brain damage to talk about women that would get attached to him. He's like, oh, they get the brain damage, and that's what brain damage is to him, is attachment.
It almost means like the idea of having personal responsibility for the emotions of another human.
Yeah. Now, as I said earlier, Jimmy Savile had a meticulously crafted personality, and with that personality came a mythology. See, even though his father made good money as a black market bookie, Savile maintained that he grew up penniless in a time and place where opportunity didn't exist. It wasn't really true. It was kind of true. He said he scraped for attention, trying to survive as the youngest of 7 in a working-class family living on the breadline in a northern city. Of course, he wasn't on the breadline. His family was not on the breadline. His father did just fine. But this worked wonders for the working class cred that Jimmy Savile spent his entire life cultivating. That was partly why Margaret Thatcher loved him so much. It's like, oh, he's a small town boy done good. He brought himself up from nothing. And if he can do it, why can't everyone else?
Just everyone like other wonderful stars, like and people that just made it from the bottom up, like Kid Rock, like guys that are just like guys that just truly
from the,
definitely, yeah. He started from the bottom of the middle, higher the income bracket, and ended up to the very top. And yes,
another working class hero, Chris Brown. That came from nothing.
Gosh, a guy made good. Donald Trump is a guy made good.
Yeah. See, with Savile's upbringing, he always liked to make it as tragic and dire as possible, while also making himself miraculous. He claimed that he almost died of an unknown illness when he was a child, but he would refuse to elaborate on what that illness was. He would deflect. He was just saying that when you were poor, you got ill and generally died. He would then claim that the Duchess brought him back to life by praying to a recently deceased Scottish nun. Savile said he was on the verge of death, but when his grandmother put a mirror under his nose to see if he was still breathing, the power of the nun coursed through him and he pissed in his grandmother's eye instead of dying. And this story is a great example of Jimmy Savile's usual patter. It's stuff that he thought was hilarious and cute, but it's actually just kind of gross and awful. It's something you'd fake laugh at if someone told it to you in a bar because the story is just so uncomfortable.
That's sort of his entire fucking gig.
It is.
Yeah. And I will say that happened to me last night. Tootsie pissed in the bed instead of dying. And
she'll just keep doing that if you let her.
Yeah.
That's why you got to plug it up. Maybe you got to plug her up. Maybe she got to stop pissing.
We do have a waterproof blanket for her.
I'm going to beg Tootsie to die next time I come to your house. I'm going to beg her to finally let go. I'm just going to say, let these people go. Let Ed and Julie go on a vacation.
She'll just get another one.
Yeah, just like, she's going to get one of the, you're going to come home. She's going to be like, the doctor said she was split in two. Yeah. And we've just been we're going to have to keep applying this glue to sort of keep the two sides of her together.
Yeah, she has noses where her eyes should be.
Oh, but I do want to say is congratulations to Frankie for finally getting her bandage off.
Oh.
Yeah, she had to have another surgery and get a broken toe amputated, but now the bandage is off and she's just running around like a good little dog.
So, did you keep the toe?
We actually were so mad that we forgot to ask.
Yeah.
We were driving because we said
because you have a bone collection.
I know. We said but we were on our way. It's don't forget to ask about the toe. Don't forget to. But both me and Caroline have ADHD, so we forgot.
It's also hard in the moment, and they're just going to get angry.
Maybe they still got it. They probably haven't turned it into soap yet.
Honestly, they could just get a dog's toe. You won't tell the difference.
Well, interestingly, back to Jimmy Savile's childhood illness.
I'm going to bring him a fucking dog toe.
P.O. Box 472.
Yeah. If you have any extra dog toes. But back to the story of Jimmy Savile's childhood illness. The real story about Jimmy's childhood ailment might have had a bearing on Jimmy Savile's future psychopathy. According to the Duchess, Jimmy jumped about so much as a baby that one day he finally fell out of his pram and the hood of the pram caught the back of his neck and severed one of his muscles. Because apparently in 1920s, the prams and the strollers, not very safe.
No, they're all I saw what Oswald Cobblepot was in Batman Returns. It's bad, dude. But I actually kind of believe this. The Duchess says that he was a fucking very wildly active, literally like an infant, literally full of energy. And
he was
threw
like
himself
that
out
as an old man.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the infant Savile, after the injury, was unable to sit up, sleep, or close his eyes, and he had intermittent spasms that would cause his head to twist around until he was effectively staring behind him. The ailment continued for 3 months, but after the Duchess prayed to the nun, she said Jimmy went to sleep, then woke up miraculously cured. This, as both Jimmy and the Duchess maintained, was evidence that Jimmy had been spared for a special purpose. He was the miracle child, the chosen one, a man who was saved, so he could entertain the good people of Great Britain and spend every spare moment raising money for the less fortunate. The story, however, reminds me of another infamous villain. It sounds fairly similar to the extreme physical trauma that Jeffrey Dahmer went through as a small child with his botched hernia surgery.
That's fascinating, yeah.
Because these sorts of traumas, if they're not taken care of correctly, they can greatly affect a child's emotional development. And it's possible that Jimmy's little accident could have greatly contributed to his sociopathy.
Jeffrey Dahmer's another person I like better than Jimmy Savile. I like, at least Jeffrey Dahmer did it because he was in love.
Yeah.
Right? He was in love, and then he did say,
at least
I'm sorry.
He at least felt bad about it.
Yeah, he said, I'm sorry.
Also, Jimmy Savile couldn't cook.
Not a lick.
He couldn't cook.
Not a fucking lick. And he was a teetotaler, which made you know that every one of his crimes was done with the absolute peering sober qualities of a true predator, where Jeffrey Dahmer had to get fucking blackout to do it all. So.
Yeah. Now, Jimmy Savile did indeed go to a Catholic school in Leeds where the nuns were known to beat children, but corporal punishment was the norm across British schools until the Education Act of 1986, so there's no secrets to be found there.
Yeah, you guys got probably normal corporals. Yeah.
Catholic schools, however, were known especially for flogging the bare buttocks of their children, which was done by schoolmasters, nuns, and priests. This, of course, is where the other half of Jimmy's evil may have been created.
Yeah, because that's like a sexy scenario to be doing that. You know what I mean? Because you never know.
Actually, I'm gonna let you know that Sister Dolores, she hit me in 1986, honestly, and she wasn't very sexy.
But imagine if Sister Dolores,
Sister Kathleen, on the other hand.
But think about the fact that if Sister Kathleen was stuck in a well or something like that. Top half, and then you were going to get at the back of her. That would be a fun scenario for some people.
My mom often accused Sister Kathleen of being a lesbian. And I don't know who was wrong in that situation, my mom or Sister Kathleen, probably both.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, the women that spanked me repeatedly when I was a child, they were like, Mrs. Hasty wasn't sexy.
No.
She could put some makeup on. You never know. Catch her on the weekend?
Yeah. Maybe she took her time. She would have been more sexy.
Yeah, light a candle.
Hasty.
Yes.
Well, it's a well-known fact that the vast majority of sexual abusers, specifically those who abuse young children, were themselves abused. And it's speculated that Jimmy Savile might have been the victim of a Catholic priest's sexual abuse. There's no evidence, but I think it's a safe bet.
Flip a coin.
You know, is it really disgusting to say that I can genuinely see a world where he is molested, and when he is molested, he legitimately, because one of the main issues with it is that you do believe in some level, like if you're getting groomed, you're believing that this is an expression of love.
Sure.
That this is happening to you to quote unquote make you feel good, right? That's a part of the fucked up logic that they use on you to groom you.
One day I'll grow up and fuck a boy.
But I think that legitimately that goes right into the old brain bank.
Yeah.
Which is why he'd go on to say it didn't hurt anybody's feelings later on.
Mm-hmm. Well, likewise, Jimmy Savile also said that he was mostly left alone as a young child, being the youngest of 7. And hell, I was the youngest of 3, and I was left alone to figure things out in the world of adults as well. So I can't even fucking imagine what it was like with 7. But I also know how close I came to being molested many, many, many times. And since Jimmy Savile's father was involved with shady figures in the black market, it's possible that Savile might have experienced sustained abuse by adults in his life, the criminals his father associated with. And that's in addition to what he may have suffered in school. Now, since Savile was left alone so much, he spent a lot of time during his childhood at the St. Joseph's Home for the Aged, which was just across the street from his house. And there, Savile helped the nuns care for the elderly and the infirm. Now, this sounds nice, but this was also where Savile developed his lifelong obsession with death. See, the young Jimmy Savile was allowed to ride in the hearse as a treat when an elderly resident died and the body had to be transported to the funeral. Savile, however, even from a young age, was completely detached from the deaths of these people that he'd gotten to know personally. A ride in the hearse was what he got when he was a good boy.
Yeah, well, he probably didn't have to go to school that day.
Yeah.
You know, as someone who was an altar boy who would get out of school to work the funerals, I could kind of see this.
No, but did you cover in the story when the nun said to him, like there was a lady that he got really close with, like that was like one of the first times that he had kind of really showed his obsession with dead bodies, when the nun basically, like, it was like Mrs. Gracie or whatever. He's like, oh, Miss Gracie passed. And he was like, oh, I liked Miss Gracie, blah, blah, blah. And they'd be like, you can go kiss her goodbye. Mm-hmm. And so he'd go down into the morgue to her dead body and he'd like hang out with her dead body.
Yeah.
And that kind of where it seemed to start.
Yeah, should have been just a peck.
You know, but also like, let's not kiss corpses. My whole thing is, you could wave at the funeral.
Yeah,
I've kissed a corpse.
I've kissed one.
I
was forced to. I didn't want to.
By whom?
I chose to kiss both.
Oh yeah, it's like that. I won't kiss a corpse. Yeah. I don't care what you say to me. I'm not kissing a corpse. I don't care how hot that corpse is.
I'll kiss your dead body.
You can. I'll be dead. Never kissing a corpse.
Now, Savile claimed that helping out the nuns at St. Joseph's taught him that doing nice things for people isn't a bad idea, that they would pat you on the head and be pleased to see you if you made their lives a little easier. But I think the real lesson Jimmy Savile learned here is that doing charitable activities can be an incredible smokescreen for getting away with anything, and he learned that lesson at quite a young age. Now, all of these tidbits, these are gold mines for armchair psychologists like ourselves, or for authors, or podcasters, whoever. But anytime Jimmy Savile was pressed to talk about any of these things in interviews beyond the surface level, he would get defensive, annoyed, and most of the time, quite combative. When Savile was interviewed for a Radio 4 show called In the Psychiatrist's Chair in 1991, for example, the interviewer noticed that Jimmy was exceedingly edgy the entire time, like a prize fighter, he said, on his toes, anticipating a punch. And throughout the interview, which is both fascinating and fucking chilling, Savile spent most of his mental energy talking about money. This was the interview where Savile came straight out and said that he didn't have emotions. He said he had no feelings for other people, and he had never had feelings for other people. He's all but admitting he was a sociopath. And he said this in 1991 on the BBC. It's 20 years before his crimes came to light.
I do believe if you want to understand a villain's mind, that interview is one of the most interesting.
It's incredible.
It is literally just talking to one of the most legendary monsters explain his own personal philosophy over and over again. Well, because the reason why the guy even had him on the show was because Jimmy Savile said psychiatrists were all full of shit, right? Yeah. Like he was one of those. So he says, I remember the whole thing when he invited him in, and he's just like, why are you even doing this show? And he's just like, because you invited me. I don't go places where I'm not invited. Well, you invited me, and I always say yes.
Yeah, he says, I say yes to everything.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And whenever he got asked a question, I didn't see this interview, but whenever I noticed in other ones that he got asked a question he didn't want to answer, he just like, next.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah.
They just say that every single time until like they would just keep going.
And it's supposed to be a funny affectation, and it's just like, no, we're asking for your answers, man.
Yeah, but he would be very menacing and intimidating.
Yes, he was. And that I feel like that was the first time when I saw that. When I listened to in the psychiatrist chair, I was like, he might be the most evil person to ever live.
Yeah.
Like literally.
Also, I've seen a lot of old British interviews because I like rock and roll and shit, and they're always combative.
Always,
they're always starting shit.
Now, I seem to remember a time when perhaps you had done something that was, well, some might call it illegal. I wouldn't call it illegal, but some might call it illegal.
And it's always it's like they just know British journalists. God damn, they're fucking vicious. Man, nothing's scarier than a British journalist.
Yeah, never. If you're in a room talking with Louis Theroux, you fucked up. Yeah. Like if you're in a room being interviewed by Louis Theroux, you're a bad guy.
Yeah.
Right? It's bad news.
Now, being born in 1926, Jimmy Savile was a part of the World War II generation. But while many English families struggled during the war, the Saviles did just fine as the Nazis did their best to bring England to its knees, because Vince Savile was deeply connected to the Leeds black market. Jimmy was also involved in that black market, and he claimed that when he was 14 years old, he began hanging out at a dangerous Leeds dance hall called the Mecca Locarno. Now, the Mecca dance halls were a chain that had locations all over England. They were very popular. And as the war dragged on, the Mecca dance halls in each English city became focal points for the communities, a place where everyone could go and relax and maybe forget about the Blitz for a second. But it just so happened that the community in Leeds, it was as sleazy as they came. And as Savile put it, while hanging out at the Mecca Locarno, he became the confidant of murderers, whores, black marketeers, and crooks of every trade, as well as the innocent people they preyed upon. In fact, Savile claimed that he once saw a dismembered corpse stuffed in luggage and left out behind the Mecca Locarno dance hall, but we unfortunately couldn't find any details to confirm this claim. Could be true. Most likely, I think it is true.
Could be a lie or a fucking confession.
The thing is that there's so many lies and so many confessions in what he says, it is impossible to tell.
Yeah, but regardless of whether or not this is a tall tale, Jimmy Savile was always proud of his grimy beginnings. And if any of it is true, then it means that Savile experienced all this and he chose to stick around because the Mecca Locarno looms large in Savile's history.
That's the big thing. You saying that makes like a sense. That's the thing, right? Is that
if it's true, he experienced it and he was like, I'm fine with this.
I like this.
Yeah.
Yes. It's where he was born.
Yeah. Now, part of the reason why Savile was able to tolerate all the bad shit happening around the dance hall was because Jimmy had always been a sociopath. He openly said that he often, and this is something that he wrote in his book, he often wondered why people wept during the war when one of their relatives were killed. He couldn't understand why people were sad when other people died. He said that he was more, quote, inquiring than affected. For example, when Leeds was bombed by the Nazis in March of 1941, Jimmy and his mother were forced to very suddenly take shelter in a doorway. And when the raid ended, Savile walked out into the street to find a black leather glove still containing the severed hand of a bombing victim. Now, that's a harrowing tale, but when Savile told it, he savored this memory. Like we might savor like a cherished childhood recollection about a vacation that's somewhere we might consider magical. I mean, for me, mine's a hike that my family took to a beautiful crater lake in Colorado when I was like 5.
Mine was when I found 10 breasts inside of a bowling bag outside of Miramax, Colorado. Yeah. It was big. I can't believe how many tits get in that bowling bag.
Yeah. He could have been confused. You know, it is Leeds. You know, he could have found that hand in a glove any day.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Well, I mean, for Jimmy Savile, his magical childhood memory was a woman being blown to bits by Nazi bombs. You know, that's what put a glimmer and a twinkle in Jimmy Savile's eye.
And he's again, this isn't what we're up against 24/7 now. It's this whole, but it was a joke, it was an exaggeration, but it telling you something very indicative about this person, that he thinks that this is a section from a movie from Come and See.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a scene from a brutally depressing war film.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, look, hand in the glove.
Yeah.
Like, you have to remember that he's a fucking psychopath.
Yeah. Now, Jimmy Savile turned 18 in 1944 and received his papers to report for duty to king and country. Jimmy Savile, however, didn't fight in the war. Instead, the number on Savile's national service papers assigned him to work the coal mines of the British Isles. See, England couldn't import coal during World War II, so coal production from mines within England itself had to be increased. So from 1943 until 1948, the wartime Minister of Labor and National Service, Ernest Bevan, conscripted some 50,000 young men to work England's coal mines. There were no exceptions for men given this assignment. If you got assigned to the mines, you had to go down into the mines, and a citizen could be fined or imprisoned if they refused. These conscripted workers, who spent 18 months in the mines on each stretch, came to be known as the Bevan Boys, named after Ernest Bevan. Jimmy Savile, of course, was by far the most famous Bevan boy to ever go down the shaft.
I'd just die in there.
Yeah.
Like, if you told me I had to, like, legally go coal mine, you'd be like, arrest me.
For 18 months.
Yeah, arrest me.
Yeah.
Just put me in jail. What do I care? Might as well be. Honestly, I'd rather be in jail.
Yeah.
Than a coal miner?
Yeah.
I guess so. Why not?
I'm not made for that kind of work.
Yeah.
I'm going to die in there.
That's true.
I'm going to get crushed.
At least in jail, you could take a nap.
I could read. I could work out. I could suck dick. I could have so much fun. I could cook food for my guys. I could go in and cut the garlic so thin.
Yeah.
So then when the garlic goes in the sausages,
You gotta use the razor.
razor. You know, I could have so much fun in prison.
You can make toilet wine?
I'd love to make toilet wine. Anything but be a coal miner.
Yeah. Now, the experience of being a Bevan boy sounds fucking awful in every way. After 4 weeks of training, these conscripted Brits would be sent down into the mines that were sometimes miles deep. And they'd be sent down in a cage that descended at anywhere between 30 and 70 feet per second. It fell so fast that some of the Bevan boys got nosebleeds when they went down.
Man, being a boy in England is the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I feel like every couple of months we're just like, all right, here's our boys in England.
Yeah, kill a bunch of boys. Did a boy in England ever have a nice time?
Are they covered in soot? Yes.
And how many sores? Many. And you see their ribs, all of them.
How are their lungs?
Oh, black as night.
Very, very black. Very, very black. Well, Jimmy Savile's job underground was a solitary one. He was 2 miles into the mine. He levered coal trucks back on the track when they derailed on a sharp corner. And most Bevan boys hated this job because it was spooky. You were in the dark, by yourself, all day long. But Jimmy Savile loved the job. He claimed to be king of the corner for 3 years.
Those guys fucking scare me. You know, you did more hardcore labor work.
Yeah.
Do the guys that are, or is it scarier for the guys that are super into it, or the guys that lazily do it? Like, who do you would rather be around?
The lazy guys.
The lazy guys?
Yeah, I guess
Versus the guy who loved roofing.
I mean, nobody really. The only time that anyone loved that work was when the drywall guys would smoke a bunch of meth, and they loved their job for about 2 days, and would not sleep. But that drywall got put up.
It really does.
Whatever gets you through the night.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I'd be bringing a meth to get it done. I'd be like, "Oh, you guys want meth? That's it." Oh, I'll get meth.
I feel like Savile would say he liked this just because he knew that was weird.
Yeah. It's the whole thing. His whole personality is deeply antagonistic, which is also partially why I'm so affected by the story.
Well, I mean, that was my exact next point, is that the other miners, they all thought it was weird that Savile would like this job that everybody else hated. But it was during Jimmy's time as a Bevan boy that he realized that there were opportunities in being different. It was, as he put it again and again, the power of oddness. People were always telling Jimmy Savile that he was a funny one, and Savile got a charge out of making people uncomfortable. His favorite story from his Bevan boys days was when he showed up at the mines in his Sunday best because he'd been out all night partying and he hadn't had time to go home and change. But Savile still went down in the cage anyway, and when he got to his corner, he stripped, folded his nice clothes in a newspaper, and worked his entire shift naked. He saved enough water to clean off his face and hands at the end of his shift, then went back up in the cage as immaculately dressed as he went down. Now, that's not a very good story. And in fact, all of Savile's stories are quite bad.
None of them are good.
They're all awful. But Savile said that the other miners were weirded out by his antics, and he immediately saw that being odd had an effect on people. It didn't necessarily disarm them. In fact, sometimes it put them more on their guard. But it had enough of an effect where Jimmy Savile started leaning in to being weird and somewhat clownish.
You know, he would have gotten the same effect by keeping his underwear on.
Well, I bet you, what we know about his underwear activities are, I imagine he either was not wearing them or he does not really care about his underwear maintenance.
He doesn't really wear underwear.
Yeah.
Or didn't wear
Well,
underwear.
then he will, I want to save it for later.
Sure.
Yeah, can't wait.
These are some little funny little things we gotta wait for.
Part 2, hour 2, Savile's underwear. Let's do it.
Get in there, man. I'll be ready then.
But as it went with almost everything in Jimmy Savile's life, his time as a Bevan boy is full of lies and half-truths. Tellingly, Jimmy was always cagey when journalists would try to establish a timeline about his stint in the mines.
He wouldn't allow them anything.
When asked to be specific about years, Savile would get defensive and menacing. He would say, "How the fuck would I know? 1642."
Yeah.
You know, it's something, and it would always be, every time he just it was always, "How the fuck would I know? 1642." Yeah. And it's so, the way he talked was like he was shooting bullets at you.
Yeah.
It's scary to even fucking watch.
He's scary.
Yeah.
He's legitimately, of all of the characters we've covered, I'm not even joking. He frightens me.
Yeah.
Well, also, if you're lying constantly, you probably can't keep them straight.
You can't.
And so it's a better way to just answer like that than to just tell another fucking lie and have it blow up in your face.
Well, you learn that eventually.
He also understands being entirely otherworldly. Like creating your own fake. Anton LaVey did this expertly as well, where he created a fake version of his life on purpose in order to fill out the iconographic, Pope of the Church of Satan, right? He created a whole fake life. He did all this kind of shit. Jimmy Savile understood that very same concept of I'm not a real person.
He understood it 20 years before Anton LaVey even thought about it.
It's I'm not a real person. Can't you see? I'm a cartoon. Don't look at me. I'm just a cartoon. I'm a cutout. I'm a 2D cutout. You don't even want to talk with me. I'm just a silly guy.
Mm-hmm.
Satanism shouldn't have a pope. It should have a nope.
But we'll get into why you were wrong theologically pretty soon.
Oh, okay. Great. Can't wait. Can't wait to nail you to the fucking wall.
Yeah, that's what you
theologically.
When you were a kid, man, I really want to be a comedian when I grow up. I can't wait to be proved wrong theologically.
See? So a lot of people super worried about investing. I understand. Money's fake. And you're like, why can't I just pull all my money out of the bank, turn it into essentially smelted precious metals, place them up inside of my anal cavity in order to get across the various country lines? I understand you. I'm with you. I'm like you. But things like Acorn showed me it's okay to invest. Give her money a chance to grow with financial wellness app Acorns. Sign up in minutes and start automatically investing your spare money, whether it's a little or it's a lot, especially if it's a little. And the Acorns potential screen will show you the power of compounding and how your money can grow over time. I'm actually not joking here. Investing money as early as you can is super important. I heard early on a piece of advice that said it's not how much you put in the market, it's how long you are in the market for. All right, so go and do it. Sign up now and Acorns will boost your new account with a $5 bonus investment. Join the over 14 million all-time consumers who have already saved and invested over $27 billion with Acorns. Head to acorns.com/left or download the Acorns app to get started. Paid non-client endorsement. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 2 compensation provided. Potential subject to various factors such as customers' accounts, age, investment settings. Does not include Acorns fees. Results do not predict or represent the performance of any Acorns portfolio. Investment results will vary. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/left. The first few weeks back at school set the tone for the rest of the year. iExcel helps kids build confidence and get up to speed fast. iExcel is an award-winning learning platform that helps kids truly understand what they're learning, whether they're building math confidence, strengthening reading and writing skills, or reviewing science concepts. We know our little Carmelita is doing extremely well in chemistry, to the point where we're almost concerned. Her experiments are taking her to the edge of knowledge and bringing her to questions of not whether she can do what she wants to do, but whether she should. And Wendy's learning a lot about the Civil War. And from pre-K through 12th grade, iExcel offers personalized interactive learning that adapts to each child's level and pace. Like it balances Wendy's love of chicken with her love of the Civil War. But it's still wonderful what iExcel helps her to get leaps and bounds beyond the other children at school. iExcel is used in 96 of the top 100 school districts in the United States. 96 of the top 100! Studies show kids who use iExcel score higher on tests, and also higher on whether or not they're going to get any snackies after their main dinner. Make an impact on your child's learning. Get iExcel now. And Last Podcast on the Left listeners can get exclusive 20% off iExcel membership when they sign up today at iexcel.com/left. Visit iexcel.com/left to get the most effective learning program out there at the best price.
Hey there, all you Quinceaholics. Oh, I feel so good. I got the breeze coming through my linen pants and my linen shirt. Oh, it's too hot for my cashmere sweater. Thank God I got this wonderful undershirt and sunglasses to keep my eyeballs safe from the radiation of a star that's trying to kill all of us. I digress. Listen. Quince has got anything you need. They're going to help you out. They're going to change your life. You like simple, plain, good-looking clothes with high-quality fabrics? Quince your hiney. Get in there. Take care of yourself. Be good to you and dress like a prince when you're wearing your Quince. I got a silver chain. Woo! Doctor, I got a silver chain. It looks great. You can get anything you want. They have gold bars. All right, you want to buy a gold bar? Quince got a gold bar. All right, you go get that for yourself. You treat yourself nice and you dress even better. Upgrade your everyday. Go to quince.com/last for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada and the UK too. That's QUINCE.com/last for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/last.
Rise from your grave.
Jimmy also claimed to have worked at 3 different coal mines in Yorkshire, but a former Bevan boy and Bevan boy advocate named Warwick Taylor, who hated Jimmy Savile, he said that Savile's claim was preposterous because very few, if any, Bevan boys worked multiple mines during their service. Savile's service, if he did indeed finish it, likely ended after the standard 18 months, but Savile greatly exaggerated his time and constantly changed how long he spent in the mines. And I think, to your point, Ed, I think he eventually did realize that giving an aggressive answer was better than lying, because sometimes he would say that he worked in the mines for 4 years. Sometimes he would say that he worked there for 7.
He'd also say he'd go back.
Yeah.
That was his whole thing. I'd be right back in there if I could.
Mm-hmm. And some, like Bevan boy advocate Warwick Taylor, he speculated that Savile actually spent very little time in the mine.
What?
Yeah, and that Savile probably used his dead cousin's name, which was very similar to Jimmy. Jimmy Savile's real name was like James Wilson Vincent Savile, and his cousin's name was James Wilson. And it's speculated that Jimmy Savile may have used his dead cousin's paperwork to get himself out of spending too much time underground.
That sounds like the Jimmy Savile I know.
Yep.
Yeah. His worst crime.
No.
Yeah. Being it, just lying.
His worst crime. Paperwork fraud.
Can't believe that somebody would do that. Lie to the mines? I would never lie to the mines.
Well, Savile also claimed that he was gravely injured in the mines, but this claim is also suspect. Supposedly, Jimmy Savile was caught in a cave-in when another worker detonated a charge without knowing Jimmy was there because Jimmy didn't have the light on and a safety hat. And the nurse at the Leeds infirmary supposedly told Savile that he was unlikely to ever walk again without sticks, crutches, but Jimmy Savile always called them sticks. And this injury is what released him from service. Other times, actually, he said that he was released from service because he had a really bad cold. But while there's no record of Jimmy's accident, that doesn't necessarily mean it didn't happen.
Yeah, because it was dangerous.
An accident happened in the wartime mines in Britain, on average, every 6 minutes. And a miner was killed every 6 hours. It really wasn't that much safer than just going and fighting the Nazis.
That's what I'm saying. Just send me to war. Just get me out of here. I don't want to be in the mines.
At least then you get to travel.
Oh, my God, anything.
Always wanted to go to France.
Oh, wow.
Many of the
no, Africa. Very bad in there.
Well, many of the records of the Bevan boys were also, unfortunately, destroyed in a fire. But at the very least, we do know that Jimmy Savile's timeline does not make any sense. If Jimmy Savile was hurt when he said he was hurt, then it would have been impossible for him to appear at the age of 21 as an extra in the 1948 film A Boy, a Girl, and a Bike, in which Savile appears for a few seconds in the film's climax riding in a Yorkshire bike race.
One thing I've learned from being on the show in the last couple of years is often thing that I see or notice is that these fucking predators, these evil people, they always like to paint themselves as a victim.
Yeah, always,
yeah.
Always, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because also that's the true understanding of like villains across the world. They a lot of villains don't think they're a villain.
Yeah.
Like they think that they're completely justified in what they do. Jimmy Savile believed that everything was transactional. Yeah. And that's all he had to do was fulfill the other half of the transaction sheet, and then he could do whatever he wants on the other side.
It was more like a balance thing. So
Yes.
that's what he said. His philosophy was that if he goes up to see St. Peter at the pearly gates and they look at the ledger, they'll see more black than red. Because his charitable works, he said, outweighed any of the things that he may have done in his life.
Yeah, and it wasn't like, because Epstein used money to sort of ingratiate himself into certain scenes, but he was doing that literally to make his dick work again, and to do all the weird, like, make himself live forever.
And the genetic stuff.
Yeah.
They like hiding in plain sight. Harvey Weinstein loved being a big donor to the Clintons.
Well, Harvey Weinstein, I believe he did that. Again, that was also on purpose.
Yes, of course.
He was aligning himself with the Democratic Party, being like, I can't rape. I don't do that. That's what Democrats don't rape.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton would like a word.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, ladies?
Now, Jimmy's sister Joan did confirm that her brother was indeed in a dire accident in the mines. But Savile used this accident as another way to make himself miraculous. He said he dedicated himself from that point forward to becoming physically fit, and he became well known for constantly riding his bicycle around Leeds. This is also around the time that Jimmy Savile developed an all-consuming obsession with money, and he was constantly on the lookout for the best ways to exploit people while distracting them with his increasingly odd mannerisms. Now, Jimmy's main black market business was selling scrap metal. This, as we all know, is just about the lowest rung on the criminal ladder. A lot of shit can be stolen and sold for scrap. I'm sure you guys have stolen stuff and sold it to the scrap metal yard, right?
No, I've never done scrap metaling. No,
Really?
No, that was not how you had a different growing up.
Yeah.
I
I still got a big scar from a piece of scrap metal.
I sold drugs.
Yeah.
I skipped the metal and went straight to the drugs.
Yeah, because the drugs are the next step. That is true.
The only experience I had with scrap metal was one time I was in New Orleans shooting a movie alone. I was in there for Mardi Gras, right? I was
You're shooting alone. Who filmed?
It was a fucking jerk off instructional.
I went to, but I met these guys, right? They sucked me into their bachelor party. I was hanging out with these guys all night, and they were all in the scrap metal business. And they were all being like, you have no idea how much money is out there. That's all you got to do. Scrap. That's the oil for guys like us. Like, that's all they were talking about. They're like, scrap is what put on. They were like showing me their houses and their cars and be like, that's what scrap metal built. And I remember just being like hammered with these guys, being like, I should join the scrap metal industry.
You're going to keep those cans?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's how you get it going. That's right there.
But at the same time that Jimmy was doing scrap metal, he was also helping out his father, Vince, with Vince's forays into the black market, like gambling or selling bootleg cigarettes. Savile would refer over the years to having a few quote-unquote business partners during this period of time who helped him earn the modern equivalent of $2,500 a week on the black market. But Savile was on the lookout for a career outside of scrap metal and gambling. So he asked himself, what do I like? And after spending so much time at the Mecca Locarno dance hall, the answer Jimmy came up with was he liked girls, music, and dancing. So Savile got himself into the entertainment business by hosting dances as a DJ starting in the late 1940s. Now, interestingly and somewhat annoyingly, Jimmy Savile actually was one of the originators of live DJing.
It's fascinating.
While every other dance had live bands, Savile got the idea of just playing records through a jerry-rigged sound system, starting somewhere in the mid to late 1940s. And people immediately went mad for it.
You know, people say Ike Turner invented rock and roll.
Yes.
You know, what are you going to do?
Yeah, bad guys are, unfortunately, I feel like one of the worst parts of this whole world is that some of these bad guys are literally the most talented people you've ever met in your whole fucking life. And they're all like that. You know, like, it's the issue. It's like you meet all of these extremely talented evil fucks that made all of our favorite stuff, and we can't do anything because the problem is that then we replace them with good people and they're making garbage. Yeah. And that's the worst part is that we're replacing the old bad guys with new people that are good and nice, but they're nowhere near as talented.
Yeah, Kevin Spacey's a phenomenal bad guy.
He was an amazing
bad guy. I don't know what to do about it.
Sean Penn's not a good guy.
Yeah.
He
tries.
He's amazing in one battle.
I don't know. I mean, we're getting some gray area guys again. I mean,
sure.
the Reacher guy beating that guy up. You know,
no,
he's exonerated.
I know.
Yeah.
But he was fully justified.
Both of us is
No, I agree that Alan is fully justified in beating the shit out of that guy. But a little bit of a gray area there.
Sure.
Yeah, it's nice to have a guy out there.
I like him. He's a rough and tumble kind of guy. I like that guy.
I like him too.
I'll watch the show.
It's good.
Now I'll watch the show.
Yeah, the show's fun. Reacher's really fun.
Yeah, now I'm like, oh, he really kicks people's fucking asses? Yeah. I'll watch this fucking show.
Yeah.
That's the best. That's literally the best marketing. I couldn't care less about that show.
Yeah.
Now I'm obsessed.
Yeah, because he is Reacher.
Yeah.
But
his wife must be happy.
Well, yeah, he's also very open about his mental health. It was very nice.
Oh, okay.
I like him.
It's bad.
Yeah.
I fucking hate mental health. I love that. I'm super open with it. I fucking hate mental health. I like rape and murder.
Yeah, but also I act on the side.
Well, as irritating as it is to admit it here, Savile was as brilliant as he was evil. He figured out 2 turntables and a microphone in a live setting before even rock and roll came onto the scene. When Savile started out, he was playing fucking foxtrots on 78s. These were records that people were bringing to the events themselves. Like, he was the guy who fucking figured it out. But for Savile, DJing opened up yet another dark impulse. He immediately saw the power and the effect that music had on people. And this is another reason why he is fucking evil. He took something that is meant for joy and he turned it into something horrible.
And he's not even a fucking musician.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, he became a middleman and used it.
Yeah. He said that he could make people dance quick, he could make them dance slow, or he could make them stop. He said he became transfixed on this newfound ability to get people to do as he pleased. That is a direct fucking quote. And it certainly didn't hurt that he was immediately making good money doing it. So Savile got hired to play music at dances and parties for £2.50 a session. And he was so successful that he was soon hired as an assistant manager at the Mecca Locarno Dance Hall in Leeds, the same place where he said he, met with murderers and whores and rapists and thieves, where he found a dead body. Now he's taking a fucking assistant manager job.
Now I work here.
Now, I want just a quick British question.
Sure.
Mecca Locarno, is that like the name of the place, or is that like the kind of establishment it is?
Okay, the Mecca is the name of the company. There was Mecca Limited that ran a bunch of dance halls. Not all of them were called like Mecca Locarno, like Mecca Dance Hall. Like the Locarno is the name of the dance hall.
Okay.
Mecca, but not all Mecca dance halls were called like the Mecca this, the Mecca that. Some was like the Plaza Ballroom, and Manchester was also a Mecca ballroom. But Mecca is just a corporation that owns a bunch of clubs.
Okay. I've also found that the UK has some of the weirdest, most idiosyncratic way of naming like venues and places. Yeah. Like they have I guess just for us, it's like for as Americans, it's always like, the whistle and thistle and muggers and tuggers. Yeah, I mean, it's like all just stuff like that.
As far as how Jimmy Savile got into broadcasting, that path ran through, of all things, competitive British cycling, which was massive in the 50s and 60s. As I said before, Jimmy Savile loved cycling, but he figured out soon into his competitive career that there was far more value in being a character than in being a winner. See, Jimmy Savile's trademark accessory throughout his life was his big, stupid, disgusting cigar. And this is a habit that Jimmy said that he was introduced to by his father when Jimmy was just 7 years old. It's that same tired hack. He just like, my father thought, he thought I would throw up, and I ended up loving it. I've been smoking cigars since I was 7.
Oh, yeah. It's like people who brag about getting hammered at 12.
Yeah. Jimmy would therefore be seen cycling in races hundreds of miles long while chomping on said cigars, wearing his best suits and preening for the crowds. Savile was such a character that he earned a nickname, the Duke, which seems to be where he got his nickname for his mother, the Duchess. That tells you, that's a bit... You want to do a little bit more detective work?
A little bit over here.
Are you trying to say that they're fucking?
Yeah, girl. You best believe if you're super close. That's the thing I could not possibly get my turn the Cosby. My mother was one of the grossest women I have ever seen. I would never have sex with my mother.
That is just proof that Cosby was funnier.
Right? Yeah.
Just the voice.
Yeah, the voice. He was funny.
You see?
And Jimmy Savile was not funny ever.
No.
Yeah. Well, eventually, Jimmy Savile became a favorite of the Daily Express journalists who covered these races. And when Savile got to chatting with them one day after he dropped out of a race, they loved his banter so much that they offered him a job as a live race commentator, the color guy. As it turned out, Savile was a natural broadcaster, and his clipped, gruff Yorkshire accent stood out against the posh voices normally heard on British broadcasts. Savile soon earned his first connections to the BBC through this gig. BBC, of course, was and still is the ultimate seat of media power in Great Britain. You get into the BBC, you can do anything you want.
So if I'm listening to like the BBC sessions of The Pretty Things, is that Jimmy Savile's voice like announcing the songs in between?
No, he was on Top of the Pops.
Okay.
Yeah,
He was when he got the job.
Yeah. He was Top of the Pops when he was a DJ on Radio Luxembourg, and mostly on BBC. He was a presenter, like a TV presenter.
Okay.
But no, I mean, you would recognize it because his voice is so incredibly original. Nobody in the world sounds like Jimmy Savile. It's actually a very hard voice to replicate.
Oh, that's the reason why I'm not even trying, because the Yorkshire accent is one of those things I've never been able to properly master. And also, I didn't really want to make him funny.
Yeah, I lived with a woman from Yorkshire for 2 years,
I remember.
and I still don't know how to do a Yorkshire accent.
That's a lot like that.
Fucking
Yorkshire.
Impossible.
Yorkshire.
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 Yorkshire. That guy was closest, actually.
That's pretty close.
But before Jimmy Savile was to make his jump to the BBC, he spent about a decade working the dance halls of England, where he very quickly discovered that he could build a life that was tailored to feed his own worst impulses. After 2 years of being assistant manager at the Mecca in Leeds, Savile was promoted to a location in London's East End in 1953. And it's here that we get the first accounts of Jimmy Savile's sexual crimes.
I think the key here is also, too, remember, is like that's kind of what we're going to say. It's like they've been talking about this since the fucking beginning of his career.
Yeah.
Like this shit is not like it didn't go underreported. It was reported.
Yeah.
It's just.
And this is also just the first that we know of.
Yes.
This is just the first reporting of it.
Half a century.
Yeah.
More.
See, by the time Jimmy Savile started working in dance halls, he was already in his early 30s. And even though the age of consent in the UK was 16, Savile always preferred them even younger. A bouncer named Dennis Lemon said that Savile would make a point of talking to all the girls on the younger end, the ones who were 13, 14, 15. Savile himself said in a 1978 collection of interviews, grossly collected as a book called God Will Fix It, or God'll Fix It.
God'll fix it.
He said that he was in a business, quote, fraught with temptations. He said he was an abuser of things, bodies, and people, but maintained that those days were behind him. And this was actually one of Jimmy's greatest tricks. He'd admit to something bad while showing contrition to deflect any questions people might have had about the full scope of his crimes, or maybe something that he did, I don't know, last week.
Because what does that mean to be an abuser of things, bodies, and people? Do you know what I mean? Like that's a horrendous thing to say.
It's a horrible thing to say. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're saying it
awful.
flippantly, like it was a thing that everybody would understand. Because also he's saying it like a well-known fact. He's saying these things being like, we're all like this.
You know
aren't
how
we?
it goes.
You know how it is how it is when you're younger.
People love fucking redemption stories, too.
Yeah, they do. And the thing was, people knew about Jimmy Savile, even back then. One of the other bouncers remembered a day in the 1950s, mind you, when Jimmy showed up to the dance hall worried because he was due in court the next day for interfering with young girls. This is a court. It's not just rumors. It is a court case. But apparently everything was cleared up because it was business as usual for Savile less than a week later. And reportedly, Jimmy Savile paid off the police to make the charges go away. And the bouncer said that it wasn't the first time that Savile had done this.
Oh, yeah, they're hanging out. They're drinking for free.
Yeah. Jimmy Savile actually found a way to turn the situation into a running joke. He said it dozens upon dozens of times throughout the years. There's actually there's a supercut on the Netflix documentary of him saying this. Anytime someone brought up his proclivities for young girls, he'd always say, my case comes up next Thursday. Always. And would always get a big laugh from whatever audience was lapping up his bullshit. Now, after proving himself to the Mecca brass in London, Savile moved to the great city of Manchester.
Ah, big old man.
I love Manchester. To manage a Mecca dance hall called the Plaza Ballroom. Jimmy's father had died a few years before, and since Jimmy had filled the emotional void left by his father, he had become far, far closer to his mother. He wanted to come back and join her, and he wanted to return to the comfort of northern England.
How close was he?
He was 4 inches inside her.
Please, 3.5. Now, in Manchester, Jimmy Savile continued to refine his flamboyant look, his clown suit, as it were. He would wear see-through shirts with fake 20-pound notes in the breast pocket. He would always do his level best to be the most outrageous-looking person in any room. Savile also started opening the dance hall at lunchtime during the week, which made the Plaza Ballroom a magnet for teenagers who were going nuts for the new American sounds. This is Elvis, Buddy Holly, Bobby Darin. Jimmy Savile's the one who has those records, and the Plaza Ballroom is where kids can go to hear those records.
You know what that immediately reminds me of? Dean Corll's Candy Store.
Sure. But besides the up-tempo stuff, Savile began playing with these teenagers by announcing smooch time at regular intervals. He'd get on the mic and tell the kids that it was time for belly dancing, which meant that they had to put their belly against someone else's for a slow dance. And this was coming from a 34-year-old man.
I do this with the staff, but that's just because we're getting to know each other. It's like a part of the corporate thing we're trying to get here.
It's a fun manual that we're working off of
that
these
corporate,
days.
When I was working at Smooch Time, it's getting long.
Yeah.
I will say, it's getting long.
Yeah. I want to add the amendment, leave room for Christ.
You're right. On the back half of you, right? So, gape for Christ.
Yeah. Where's the Holy Ghost gonna go?
My fucking cock and balls. Yeah, I'm having fun at the dance hall.
They don't call him the Holy Ghost for nothing because he likes the whole.
Yes, indeed.
That was the least Holy Ghost of all because I started in the film Ghost Father.
But at the end of the day, even though the Plaza Ballroom was getting complaints from schools that kids were missing class to go to the lunchtime dances, Jimmy Savile was making a lot of fucking money. And he continued developing a name for himself as an entertainer who knew what the kids wanted. Because that's the thing. Jimmy Savile's he's not a comedian. He is an entertainer.
Yeah, broadcaster.
Now, it's presenter, as they call it in the UK. Now, it's not a secret that Manchester can be a violent place. And Jimmy Savile was no stranger to violence at the Plaza. I mean, God, every time I go to fucking Manchester, I see someone get beat half to death on the street. It's happened 3 times now.
It's a colorful city.
I love it. I adore Manchester, but Jesus Christ. But Jimmy Savile was no stranger to violence at the Plaza. He claimed to tie up and gag troublemakers in the basement of his club. He'd keep them there until the end of the night, and then, at the end of the night, the bouncers would haul the troublemakers out and beat them half to death in the street. Savile claimed that his main crew in Manchester was a trio of what he called Hungarian heavies. These were men who had worked in the concentration camps in Europe, disposing of bodies for the Nazis during the Holocaust, or so Savile said. Savile proudly used the same name for these guys that the Nazis did. He called these men his Sonderkommandos, and they were supposedly used anytime Savile needed to get his hands dirty with straight-up violence. Savile also, around this time, made friends with a local wrestler named Bill Binney, known in the ring as Man Mountain.
Man Mountain.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah,
That's the guy from Reacher. He's a Man Mountain.
He is certainly a Man Mountain. Man Mountain had invested in a few dance halls around Manchester, so he and Savile grew close. Allegedly, Man Mountain was also involved in organized crime, and he always made sure that Jimmy Savile was protected. So at this point, it's the 50s, he's in his 30s, he's still kind of just starting out, but he already has control over both levers of the law. He has the cops on his side and organized crime on his side.
And he knows to keep it small.
Yeah.
Keep the operation small, because that's how you make sure not a lot of prying eyes are in there.
And he kept bragging about this kind of thing. Even later in the years, he would say, like, he'd send his Italian guys over to you and stuff like that.
Yeah. But then, and I did not believe it until the book. Until I saw that thing when the author went to go meet Jimmy Savile.
Yeah.
And the first thing Jimmy Savile, he goes into Jimmy Savile's flat, and you hear Jimmy Savile go, "Frisk him, boys." And these 2 large men walk in, show him police badges, push him against the wall, frisk him, go through all of his shit, and then afterwards they all have a big fucking laugh. They're like, ah, ha, ha. And they were 2 police officers. Well, it was a police officer and a man by Jim the Pill.
And I don't like Jim the Pill. No. Nobody does.
No. Now, it didn't take long before Jimmy Savile figured out that the Plaza Ballroom could essentially work as a constant pipeline for victims of sexual abuse. According to a former employee, there were lines of teenage girls waiting to, quote, chat with Jim in his office at the back of the plaza. As to why this former employee didn't do or say anything, they begged off like so many others tangentially involved with Jimmy Savile throughout his career. This former employee said they didn't know what went on behind the doors of Jimmy's office, but they did know that Jimmy Savile was a man. You know, wink, wink, know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what he was doing back there?
Do you, Eddie?
What? Know that he's a man?
Yeah, what do you think that meant?
But what do you, I don't know what he was doing back there, but I know he was a man.
Of course. No, it's the kind of bullshit you hear all the time working in the fucking restaurant
I'm asking
industry.
you as a detective.
What?
What this means, what this statement meant.
Oh, it means that him and the girls were playing checkers.
Yeah, right. What an innocent boy.
Now, the rumors about Jimmy's crimes were so prevalent that the police would stop by the plaza on occasion with questions about why there were so many young girls there at all times. But Jimmy always had a way to deflect. His go-to was to ask the cops if they had daughters who came to the plaza, which is a big fucking move.
Yeah.
But if the cops said yes, Savile would ask the cops, hey, would you rather your daughters were here safe with me or being out there preyed on all the scumbags of Manchester? And the cops would look at him and they'd see how odd he was, see how strange he was, and they'd say, I guess you. And then they'd go away.
I also think that there's just a straight up guy on the level they seem to meet, and they're like, okay, I kind of see where you're coming from in that way. Like, I get what you're saying, that, oh, we'll put it, you know, you're going to be in charge of all the kids and shit. And I think mostly they just didn't want to get involved.
Yep.
Every guy I knew that ran drugs up and down Florida back in the day had a little police benevolent sticker on their car.
Oh, of course.
You know, to make, you know, you'd say, I bet he donated so much money to them.
Dude, it's the new thin blue line sticker on your fucking car. But guess what? It doesn't help.
Yeah.
No.
They don't do. Cops actually don't care.
Now, Jimmy continued abusing young girls en masse, even after the police had to question him after it was reported that Savile had been hanging around the public toilets. This was also waved off. And again, the cops did nothing. In 1956, Jimmy Savile returned to Leeds, and there he entered his final oddball form. He began dressing in a red, white, and blue tracksuit with a big hat, pink glasses, and gold shoes. And he began bleaching his straight, shoulder-length hair blonde, fashioning the cut into an almost helmet-like shape. He looked objectively creepy, even if you managed to remove all the things we know about him today. But the people of England loved Jimmy's act, and his star only grew in the British music scene.
He was becoming a true original.
Yes.
I think that was what people were responding to.
And this is also a time when everything is changing.
Yes.
Right? You know, this is the late 50s, early 60s. Everything is changing. They're coming out of the war. Like, everything is kind of weird. Like, you know,
Yes.
the Beatles, everything is like kind of off. Everything is constantly on, like, things are different this week than they were last week. You know, when you listen, it's insane to sometimes like read the way these people talk about they talk about like the difference between 1959 and 1962 as if they're 40 years apart.
Yeah.
You know? But to that point, this was during the rise of the skiffle genre. Skiffle is it's massive in England, never made it to America, but without skiffle, you don't have the Beatles, you don't have the Rolling Stones.
Whoa.
And Jimmy Savile was on top of every trend as it came on. He was on top of skiffle. He was on top of rock and roll. All of this stuff, Jimmy Savile knew exactly how to package it and how to deliver it to teenagers. By 1959, Savile was invited onto the BBC for the first time as a judge on a show called Jukebox Jury, in which 4 panelists would judge new music as a hit or a miss. Savile was well received as a personality, so the next year, he was offered a test spot through Decca Records, one of the biggest record labels in England. You know, that was the Stones label.
Yeah.
Offered a test spot as a DJ on Radio Luxembourg.
It just used to be easier to get jobs in entertainment.
Yeah, well, now this is a big get for Jimmy Savile, because Radio Luxembourg was the only station that continuously played the pop music beloved by British teenagers at the time. This was 1960, so we're talking Elvis, Chubby Checker, Everly Brothers, Link Ray, Dwayne Eddy, all the cool shit that the kids loved.
All right, don't get lost, no dogs.
Yeah, now we're immediately in there.
I had to pull that back so much.
Oh, yeah.
You have no idea how hard I had to pull back on this section. And so after Jimmy Savile was given a permanent spot as a DJ on Radio Luxembourg, he was primed to be the voice that brought bands like the Rolling Stones and the Beatles to the ears of young people across the United Kingdom when those bands started releasing hits a couple years later. And really, think about the power of that. That is incredible power. You are the man who is introducing England to the Beatles. You're the man who is introducing England to the Rolling Stones. It also meant that Savile was primed to exploit the so-called groupie scene that would coalesce around Britain's pop stars. And of course, their sexual transgressions throughout the 1960s are many, varied, and well documented.
But at least they made the music that brought the sex to the bed. Like these guys just fucking, Jimmy Savile just fucking is there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair to the pop stars, a lot of them were in their late teens and early 20s. And like I said, the age of consent in Britain, whether it was right or wrong, was indeed 16 years of age at this period in time. And as I've said on No Dogs in Space many, many, many times, you would be hard-pressed to find a single male pop star in the 60s and 70s who didn't have sex with teenage girls, especially the British.
Yeah, but I mean, if they weren't, they were having sex with the guys.
Yeah, they were having sex with the guys, or they were married.
Yeah.
Very rarely.
Pat Boone.
Yeah, he's innocent.
Maybe. Maybe.
I doubt it.
I'm talking 60s and 70s. Pat Boone's more 50s.
You're right.
But Jimmy Savile was not in his late teens nor his early 20s when the British invasion bands started getting famous, or at least we call them the British invasion bands. They're just British. Jimmy Savile was 36 years old when the first Beatles single hit the charts, and his tastes were decidedly for girls below the age of consent.
This is where you really hit me for the first time. That when we were talking about this and it hit me, I was like, oh, he was too old to even be in the scene.
Yeah, he was too old to even be in the room.
He was already too old, and he was noticeably too old.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I'm sorry, guys. I know now I'm almost 42 years old. I didn't see the difference before, or I didn't see. How do I say? Now it's hard for me to determine ages and stuff. But back in the day, when you're 20 and a 35-year-old's in the room. Yeah. It's like you feel it.
Yeah.
Like you feel like there's an authority in the room, even though you have no idea what's going on.
And that's also part of why he was so clownish and why he dressed the way that he did. Well, no, it was so he could fit in. So he was the clown in the room. If he dressed like an adult, if he dressed like these people's parents or their uncles or whoever, then he would be suspect. But dressed as some wacky guy,
he's got to be counterculture. He's got to be cool.
Yeah.
That's why whenever I go to these like younger shows, I always pretend like I own the joint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just look at the bartender every once in a while and go, two.
Do you understand that I feel like I get treated that way no matter what? Like, I feel like when I go into places where everyone's 20 years younger than me, it's like people are like, are you my dad?
Now, it's important to note that while there was a natural taboo involving sex with prepubescent girls and boys during this time, public attitudes in Britain were remarkably tolerant of the occasional or rumored liaison with the girl who was postpubescent but below the age of consent. Hell, we see it here today in America. What was it, a month ago when Megyn Kelly was defending Jeffrey Epstein? She's like, it's not like he was an 8-year-old. It's like they were like 15. Okay, can we all just relax here for a second? It's the same shit. There were, however, some people who thought that it was wrong for a man in his 30s to have sex with a 14-year-old girl. And Jimmy Savile was indeed investigated for sexual abuse allegations involving underage girls in the early 1960s. Several journalists at a weekly newspaper called Sunday People, came out on Sundays, they spent years...
Sunday People! That's what it sounds like. It's Sunday People!
Why are you here on a Monday?
It's Sunday People!
Well, they spent years investigating Jimmy Savile, but for reasons that are still unknown for sure, those findings were never released. Most likely, the reason why the story was buried was because Jimmy Savile had been hired by that very same paper to write a column to attract a younger readership at the same time that he was being investigated. He was hired because the editor's teenage daughter listened to Jimmy Savile on Radio Luxembourg.
And talking about like back in the day and what this shit was like, the way my aunt talks about like child molestation and stuff like that from when they were kids, it was just that people would warn the children but they didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah, they would
they'd be
still
like, stay
assume
away from that guy, but they would never actually fucking do anything about it.
Well, because in their heart of hearts, and I feel like this is one of the big issues we're seeing with the boomer generation, like into this next thing, is that they kind of felt they got molested.
Yeah.
So why should they really go out of their way to stop it from happening to you? Like, why go so far out of our way when you're fine?
Yeah.
You know, my mom was molested by every single priest that she was ever involved with, and she's fine, quote unquote. That's how she thinks in her head. She had to do all this kind of stuff. So in her mind, it was a part of life.
It was one of those things I learned recently when talking to one of my friends with kids. They were asking me, like, what comics should they introduce their kid to, you know? And I was like, I don't know. I mean, when I was your kid's age, I was listening to fucking Dice and George Carlin and
Richard
Rodney
Pryor.
and all that stuff. And then I'm like, and I'm fine. And then for 2 seconds, I thought, oh, maybe I shouldn't have.
I don't know.
I think Carlin's good for any age.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Carlin
Maybe
is
not
great.
Dice.
Yeah.
No, I mean, introduce them to great, like, stand-up guys, like Bill Cosby, Chris D'Elia. Like, there's some great comedians out there that are really good for kids to listen to.
Well, I think it's also, it's not just the super cynical, like, I had to deal with it, so now you have to deal with it.
I'm not saying outwardly. I'm saying it's subconsciously.
I think it's also subconsciously. It's like, if I deal with you, I'm going to have to deal with what I went through.
Sure,
I'm going to have to process it. I'm going to have to face it and actually think about it for a second instead of just shoving it down and letting it come out as a freak out at the grocery store.
I think that, this is a fucking, here's another email statement, but I don't think people really gave a shit about sticking up for kids until like a couple years ago.
Dude, you're not even, they still haven't. Look at the Epstein files. Nobody gives a fuck.
Dude.
So it's this, none of the people that could charge anybody give a fuck. It's been like this. They talk about this and spun a lot. It is true. They did not give a fuck about what happened to kids because they genuinely believed, I think in many ways, they'll get over it.
Yeah.
Or like, how'd you believe? You can't believe a kid. He's just a kid. You can't believe that fucking kid. Fuck that kid. He should be in the coal mine.
It's how the Catholic Church got away with it for so long. That's why we never fucking put any regulations on guns after all these school shootings. People just fucking rather not deal with it.
The school shootings, I really think that's just about training our kids to go to war. But that's a longer story.
Now, from accounts, Jimmy Savile had already set up his life to feed his monstrous sexual urges by the time he started getting big on Radio Luxembourg. The most graphic account comes from a man named Tony Calder, who was just 18 in 1961, but Calder would eventually become one of the most successful promoters in the UK of the 1960s. Calder was actually the guy who got the first Beatles single, Love Me Do, played in dance halls across England. And by 1963, Calder would be a business partner to Andrew Loog Oldham, who was, of course, the manager of the Rolling Stones for much of that decade. In other words, this guy was legit. He was a legend in the industry. So according to Calder, Jimmy Savile offered to get him laid when Calder was 18 and just starting in the music business. He had, I think, just gotten a job with Decca. Savile took Calder to an apartment funded by the Mecca Dance Hall, an apartment in Leeds. They called it the Shag Pad. It had 3 or 4 bedrooms where people would, quote, shag all night long, according to Calder.
Baby. Right, that like that? Yeah.
I'll make you horny,
Me, baby.
Shag. Savile, however.
God, man. I think about these characters like Austin Powers.
But he was super consensual. Remember in the version, he was like, no, darling, I can't. You're too drunk.
The influence comes from Savile.
Yeah.
The way he acts and presents himself. The sexy and like also like Bill Nighy in Love Actually. Like I just like I see it. You know, it's like
Richard Dawson kissed people specifically on camera.
Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah, but he was also a piece of shit in real life.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Savile, however, he would exclusively go for teenage girls at this shag pad, and he had a rule: the younger the better. Calder, however, maintains that Savile told him to never have sex with anyone under the age of 16, but this is likely Calder covering his own ass. But, I mean, Jimmy also might have said this, but either way, Jimmy was not following his own rules. According to Calder, the young girls who hung out at the shag pad did anything Jimmy Savile said, and they would act as his little slaves, as Calder put it. Calder said that Jimmy would have sex with the girl, then pass her off to one of his younger DJ acolytes, chatting them up only for as long as it took for them to have sex with him or blow him. Savile's other rule was Never make love to anyone if it causes them distress, which makes it sound like Savile had somewhat of a heart. You know, everyone's consenting, so what's the harm? She's not in distress, so what real harm am I doing here? But I think that there is a far more sinister reason for this rule. I think what Jimmy Savile really meant was don't have sex with a young girl if you can't manipulate her into thinking it was her idea. Never take advantage of someone who's going to be upset enough to make a stink about it. In other words, only do what you can get away with. Because as Savile was proving every single day, you could get away with a lot.
And in his mind, too, when he says never make love to anybody that causes them distress, Jimmy Savile has never been wrong to himself. So in a way, I think in his own Jimmy Savile arithmetic, if I'm having sex with you, you can't possibly be in distress.
Because I have made the decision that you are ready for it.
Yes.
Yeah. Or that you want it. Yes. Now, as you can see from that story, Jimmy Savile's partners in crime in the entertainment business were not usually musicians. That's, of course, aside from Gary Glitter, who we'll talk about later.
Oh, he shows up.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. Instead, Savile's closest associates were music industry executives and promoters, because as far as Savile's game was concerned, musicians were far more valuable as props, and most musicians were also nowhere near as clever as the executives who manipulated them.
Just listen to Jimi Hendrix talk once. And you understand that he just needed to have a guitar.
Yeah, and he could communicate with that guitar beautifully.
Yes.
I really wish Janis Joplin was a better interview, but
She's just not,
she wasn't.
That's not what she was, you know?
Just musicians are not, unfortunately, I know a lot of you listen, many of them are just not that clever. Like they say you can't judge a fish by how well they climb a tree.
That's exactly, that's not their job.
Yeah, that's not their job. But the thing is that Jimmy Savile, if he was going to bring someone into this world, they needed to be almost or just as clever as he was. And as far as how he used musicians as props, Jimmy Savile finally broke through into full celebrity status in the UK in 1961 by borrowing the fame of Elvis Presley. In January of that year, Savile convinced Decca Records to let him deliver a gold record to Elvis in Los Angeles, where Elvis was filming his new movie, Wild in the Country. Once Savile arrived here in Los Angeles, he talked his way into meeting Elvis, and he got a photo of himself with the world's most famous singer.
Now, I gotta tell you, brother, I'm looking at you right now. I think you're kind of a weirdo, but honestly, I think we can get along.
Let me tell you about this 14-year-old girl named Priscilla.
Listen, I gotta tell you all that. Hey, let me, so you're pretty close with your mama? Oh, mama. I'm pretty close with my mama.
Well, after getting this photo, Jimmy blew it up and he put it on billboards all over England. He wanted to show everyone that he was the first radio DJ to be photographed with Elvis. This photo went the 60s version of viral. Everyone was talking about the photo of Jimmy Savile with Elvis. And Jimmy Savile became famous from that point until the moment of his death, 50 years later.
It's like he was the first influencer.
Yeah.
Dude, I am not even, it is very similar. He really understands PR in a way that it is Nazi-like. He understands to sort of like create this version of himself outside of himself so that that's all people get. And so by the time they're meeting you, you're meeting the legend Jimmy Savile, you're meeting the outside person Jimmy Savile, and I do believe that's kind of one of the responsibilities of having that level of innate charm and charisma is that you have to stop.
Yeah.
You actually have to stop them falling for you. Like, legitimately, it is the responsibility of the super powerful pop figure to not manipulate everybody that is extremely vulnerable in their presence.
Very much so, yeah. And I think Jimmy Savile, what he understood better than anything was social systems.
Yeah.
And that's also, I think, why he never really left the UK. It wasn't just because...
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
It wasn't just because people didn't know who he was outside of the UK.
But couldn't get away with it if they didn't.
He just knew how everything worked in the UK. He knew British people and he knew British institutions, and he knew how to manipulate every single one of them.
But seriously, he was way ahead of it. The only thing Jimmy Savile ever did was when he started wearing those Oakley glasses and shit. I know it's later on, it's episode 3, but it's kind of cool, technically. Technically, it was a cool look.
Hey, man, you're taking back the scumbag look from scumbags.
That's what I'm trying to do, dude.
Yeah, why do scumbags get all the fucking cool
That
clothes?
is,
right?
And I legitimately am choosing to look this way because of that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it'd be fun to look crazy, like a crazy person as I'm getting older. It does have a fun, disarming effect. And also, just trying to do something that doesn't involve me. I don't know what other fucking horrific midlife crisis I could have.
I do it also because it is a thing. You wear a big, loud thing. It's like, I'm not as scary as a person to you.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like, as a big man, I do it to disarm people.
Even just as a man, I'm trying not to be as frightening to people all the time.
Yeah. I love my Carhartt, but women run from me in it.
Sometimes. They do. You do look like the murderer from I Know What You Did Last Summer.
I'm just walking the same way.
But you do look like a drifter that is looking to turn her into a fucking piece of furniture.
And so, now that Jimmy Savile was famous, he was invited to participate in charity work. And Savile soon discovered that he could get away with even more dastardly deeds by volunteering. And he started all of this at Leeds General Infirmary, and it gave him an incredible amount of credibility. This began a decades-long association with hospitals across Britain, and Jimmy began building an inner circle of establishment figures that also included several high-ranking police officers who would all protect Jimmy whenever he needed it. He knew many people in Scotland Yard.
Why don't they go after these motherfuckers?
Because
you know what? That's a good question, Edward.
Because they don't have that many jails, Eddie. I think that's the kind of the problem, is that once you start arresting all of the people, when do you stop?
Yeah. You know, that
When
was,
are you done?
Yep.
let me tell you about a little something called denazification. And Jimmy Savile also discovered it was a lot easier to have sex with young teenagers if he had his own caravan, or as we call them in America, his own RV.
Yeah, caravan is a romantic word for an RV.
Yeah. See, England went through a bit of a caravan craze in the 60s, and by the end of the decade, there were well over 60,000 caravans on the road. So it wasn't all that weird when Jimmy Savile began living much of his life in his caravan, and he was suddenly afforded a private mobile location for his illicit activities wherever he went in England, and a place that he had complete and total control over. Savile's star continued to rise so much in the early 60s that he even started releasing his own god-awful music, like his cover of the Ray Stevens novelty hit Ahab the Arab, or this massive piece of shit, the Bossa Nova. And we're going to play this because, if...
We're going to play this.
Yeah, if Decca wants to claim this, come on.
Come on, let's do the bossa nova. You kind of sway.
Do we have to play all of it?
No. For those who haven't tried it, don't know what they've missed.
That's enough.
Yeah.
It's just that.
Yeah.
That's a type of... You know what? It is funny because it's another thing. My main problem is that anything that is filled with what I feel as fake joy, I ascribe immediately as menacing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's my problem, is that I am not into, like, I know you guys are hard on me about, like, talking about Ted Lasso and those other shows, right? But there's, like, a thing about, like, you're lying to me. Like, you're all liars.
You can say whatever you want about Ted Lasso.
But you know what I mean? It's just like, I look at you and I know you're all multimillionaire actors. You're all fucking liars. This whole thing's the fucking, I know, whatever. It's
Henry, they're actors.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. But it's just like, I'm not inspired by you. I don't care. But stuff like this.
Because you're not an actor.
Do you think David Desmalchian actually hosted a talk show?
I wish that he did. He did. He does. He does have a show.
Okay.
He
Well,
does.
do you
Well,
think he's
gotcha.
actually Polka Dot Man?
I'm just saying. It's just that's just what I mean. I don't like fake happiness. And this is one of those things where he's all of that. Like, it's just this constant fake. He's just fake.
Also, it just sucks.
It just-
on an artistic level, at least Palisades Park is fucking catchy.
Sure. And there's also something about the novelty song artists that like Weird Al. Yeah, we all agree that Weird Al is, like, the best man in music. music. He's the only one that has never done anything bad. But the novelty song world is filled with pieces of shit. Like Ray Stevens is a fucking psychopath.
You know what?
The dude that like the Tie Me Down Kangaroo, the Australian novelty song.
Yeah.
That guy's like Australia's Jimmy Savile.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's because you know what it is there's something about like you game the system. If you somehow have a hit novelty song, it's like you've conned everybody for a very small period of time almost.
Yeah. You know who's fine, though, even if, he does have weird libertarian views? Dr.
He was all about, he just didn't like be heavily taxed.
Yeah, I think he's just stupid. That's fine.
He was a nerd. You know what he was? Honestly, he was a nerd.
He was a nerd.
Yeah, he was a fucking nerd, and then he was coming like, well, actually, we have to think about different tax rates. And it's like, that's the kind of libertarian he was.
Steve Martin's fine. King Tut.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was fine.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
I've heard he's not a super friendly man.
No, but he's like, it's like meeting the president.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, but the novelty song world is filled with horrible men.
I bet.
And it is overwhelmingly male.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Like, name one single female novelty song artist.
Mickey.
Mickey.
What's her name? Tony, what's her name?
That's not a novelty
That's not
song.
a novelty song.
You don't think Mickey's a novelty song?
No,
Absolutely
I think
not.
That's legit like a heart. Yeah, I think they really
Oh,
felt...
Mickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind. Hey, Mickey.
I think they thought they were making a really genuine, great song.
It was,
I think
it was a genuine great song. I'm talking novelty song. Like,
Yeah.
I'm talking like Ahab the Arab, like, or something like, or, Guitar Zan.
My pussy's all filled with dirt.
Yeah.
When somebody come and get this dirt.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Purple People Eater, that's a dude.
Yeah.
Oh, Red, I like short shorts.
Yeah, there you go.
I get it.
There you go.
Yeah.
That is a good one.
Yeah. Oh, and Itsy Bitty, teeny tiny polka dot bikini. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But that's a guy.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because only a man would write that song about a bikini on a 14-year-old. But believe me, there were so many songs. I was sitting with Natalie, and I was just like going through. I was like, "Young blood, she was only 17." Like it was just every song.
Yeah, because I forget that the second half of that verse of teeny tiny polka dot bikini is she wore it for the first time today.
I want to blow my brains out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, by the early to mid 1960s, Jimmy Savile was making the modern equivalent of £500,000 a year, and he used that money to rent a one-bedroom apartment in Manchester, specifically for raping and abusing teenagers. And don't worry, Savile did everything he could to make this apartment as evil as possible. It was painted black, wall to wall. It only had one red light bulb swinging for illumination. This den of horror was dubbed by Jimmy Savile as the Black Pad. But even though Jimmy Savile was obviously feeling a bit invincible, police reports were being made concerning the crimes Savile was committing. In the later months of 1963, 13 separate allegations of sexual abuse were made against Jimmy Savile, but not a single one of them led to anything resembling an investigation.
13
in a few months, between October and December, I think.
So, but they kept it on record, obviously.
They just quietly filed it away. Like, it's just like, oh, yeah, a report was made, but you just file a report away. Reports are made all the time. Well, that fall, a man went to a police station in Westminster to report that Jimmy Savile had sexually abused his girlfriend at a BBC studio. But the man who made the report was threatened with arrest himself and told to go away. Savile's crimes, however, were not limited to teenage girls. It seems like the more famous Jimmy Savile got, the wider his pool of victims grew. And Savile was truly giving in to sexual predation at every level. In October, 2 boys, aged 11 and 14, appeared in juvenile court for stealing a watch from Jimmy Savile's apartment. But no one thought to ask, why were these boys even in Jimmy Savile's apartment in the first place? And, that's kind of sideways.
He was running material.
Not any direct allegations, but more concretely, Savile allegedly raped a 10-year-old boy in 1963. This boy had asked Jimmy for an autograph after recognizing him outside of a hotel. Jimmy took the boy into the hotel and, quote, assaulted him by penetration. But again, no action was taken.
It's a form of autograph.
Oh, God.
I guess we could get rid of that.
Never.
No, that's staying in. That's staying in.
Never wash my hole again.
You know, it's just like it's a comedy show, and then this is the topic. And what am I fucking supposed to do here?
Ed's a monster. He's a part of the problem. He's a part of the problem.
I'm employed by you to be that monster. I want to do the brighter side. No one cares.
You see,
no one listens.
That is a joke. That is highly inappropriate, and I think that you need to go back to comedy school.
Podcast. People are like, oh, you're too nice. No one gives a fuck. So now I do the evil one, and I say the jokes, and it's funny.
Yeah, and people really like it.
They really do.
They really love you. Well, Savile's crimes were not limited to children, teenagers, or even women. That same year, a man went into a police station in Cheshire to report that he'd been raped, naming Jimmy Savile as the perpetrator. Man was told to go home, forget about it, and move on. And so the man did move on best as he could, and all of the 1963 allegations were quietly filed away and hidden. None of the reports were shared with Savile's home force, the West Yorkshire Police, but it really wouldn't have mattered if they had been shared, because Savile could already count on the cops in northern England to always take his side no matter what by this point in time. By 1963, he already had it under control.
Also, it's like important to remember he is like a regular criminal also.
Yeah.
You know, like he's not just a rapist. He like steals from people. He does like all these weird shady deals in these clubs with the mob, with their version of the mob.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, so he has the cops in his pocket. It's just like we are now just talking about his most horrible crimes.
You're right.
And so there was nothing but constant rumor and accusation concerning what Jimmy Savile was getting up to, both at the clubs and at the BBC. But the organizations he worked for only increased Savile's exposure to young teenage girls. This was chiefly because teenagers have become a massively profitable business due in no small part to the meteoric rise of the Beatles, which very unfortunately does involve Jimmy Savile. Now, thankfully, the Beatles are not involved in any sexual crimes whatsoever.
No, they just hate women.
That was,
at the very least, they all said they were very sorry. But since they and Jimmy Savile rose in fame at the same time, they worked on a lot of shows together in the early days of the Beatles' fame. I only mention it because Jimmy Savile used that cultural cachet to his advantage throughout his life. See, while the Beatles were in their early 20s, Savile was nearing his late 30s. And to the Beatles, Jimmy Savile was just sort of an old hustler who kept his distance whenever the Beatles wanted to hang out, which was kind of flabbergasted. Like, they were actually a little flabbergasted. They're like, we're the Beatles. Don't you want to hang out with us? And he's like, nope, boys, I'm going to bed. Going to bed. See you later.
Smart.
Yeah, he just wanted the picture.
Yeah.
Yes, he's very smart.
He was actually much more of a Rolling Stones guy, because if you know anything about the history of the Rolling Stones, read a little bit about the making of Exile on Main Street. That was quite dark in that French villa.
Yes.
And if you know that Mick Jagger was a part of Jeffrey Epstein's social circle, it's pretty easy to figure out why Jimmy Savile was more attracted to the Stones than the Beatles.
Yeah, the Stones personally made 2 documentaries talking about fucking people they shouldn't have been fucking.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it was called Cocksucker Blues.
Yeah, and the other one was Stones in Exile, yes.
Yes. But, as I said, Jimmy Savile mostly used musicians for props and opportunities. In this last story that we're going to tell today, this is going to tell you how far in advance Savile would set up an assault and just how much thought he put into each one. In a way, he almost reminds me of BTK and the so-called projects that BTK would embark upon that would often end in murder. So Jimmy Savile had kept in contact with Elvis Presley. There are many photos of Jimmy and Elvis, but that first famous photo with the King had given Savile a permanent connection to Elvis in the UK. So when the 16-year-old president of the Elvis Presley fan club came on Radio Luxembourg in 1963, Jimmy Savile was the one to interview the teenage girl. Jimmy asked her for a picture of herself so he could show it to Elvis next time he saw him. And indeed, after Jimmy went to America to see Elvis again, Jimmy called up the girl when he got back and invited her to his hotel so he could give her a gift from Elvis. Now, this girl was ecstatic because she thought that she was going to meet someone who had talked about her to Elvis himself. And Elvis had a gift. What's not to love? But when she got to Jimmy's room, he answered the door in his pajamas. He then immediately pinned her to a wall where he aggressively kissed her and called her an angel. Finally, he forced her to the bed and raped her, then acted afterwards as if he had done her a favor. After he got dressed, one of Jimmy's friends knocked on the door for a dinner date, and Savile casually asked the girl if she wanted to join them. She said no. So Savile left her in the room after pointing out that he'd brought back 3 pins from America for her. They all said, "I'm a kissin' cousin," which was a reference to Elvis's latest film, Kissin' Cousins. Worst of all, though, Jimmy Savile had gotten the girl pregnant, and when Savile had the nerve to call the girl's house afterward, the girl's mother told Savile about the child. Savile simply said that wasn't possible, and he hung up. The girl had to get an illegal abortion, performed without painkillers, for £150, about the equivalent of about $4,000 today. It was paid for by her grandmother, and I think they said it took her 2 years to pay off the debt.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, and that was Jimmy's. Anytime anyone ever said that, Jimmy, he had it in his head that he was sterile. He truly believed that he was sterile. He wasn't. He absolutely wasn't.
No, and there was a lot of abortions.
Yes.
Do you think there's kids?
There are a couple of people who claim to be Jimmy Savile's children,
but I mean,
there were a few that came up right after he died. But after everything started coming out, everyone's like, maybe he's not my dad. Maybe I shouldn't. And also after it was discovered that most of his money went to charity, and there were very few people who actually got a part of his considerable fortune.
He gave it all away. He also lived again, we'll get to it. He lived like a total fucking pauper. He did this, he does that thing.
It's weird. Now, by the end of 1963, it was obvious that pop music was going to be one of the biggest moneymakers in post-war England. And Jimmy Savile, despite his reputation as a sexual monster, was seen as a sort of teenage whisperer who knew exactly what the kids liked to hear. In other words, Jimmy Savile's reputation as a tastemaker outweighed his reputation as a sexual predator. So when the BBC came up with a new music countdown show, they tapped Jimmy Savile as the host. That show was, of course, Top of the Pops. And that is where we will pick back up next week for part 2 of this sickening saga. And by the way, it only gets worse from here.
It really does.
Far worse.
I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface.
Unfortunately, we have not. Like, that is really kind of, again, why he's ahead on the Mount Rushmore of Evil, because
right now he's just a DJ, a club owner, and a promoter. Like there's probably at this point a few dozen guys in England just like Jimmy Savile at this point, if not more.
Yes. Yeah, right now the people that he's assaulting still are like sound of mind, at least.
Yes, and it is going to get much, much worse. But we're just going to get funnier.
Yeah.
And that's all we promised to do here. Right, Eddie?
Sure.
We just have a good time here. So go to patreon.com/FlashPodcast and let them pay for ad-free episodes. Also to see us live every Tuesday, 5 p.m. PST for Last Stream on the Left.
And don't forget to watch us on Netflix. If you want to see us do this whole thing, you can see us over there. If you have a Netflix subscription, you can watch us.
We're out there, Netflix UK.
Yeah. Right there. And Netflix Australia. Let us know if you have a great molester that you would like us to do.
They do. I mentioned him. He was like a Timey Kangaroo Down.
Yeah. You guys know who he is.
You guys like him. You know.
It was Rolf Harris.
Rolf Harris.
Yeah, Rolf Harris.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm pretty sure we spent like a good 30 minutes on an episode of Roundtable talking about this.
I'm
once.
sure
It's
he's
very
a great dingy doozler.
That's very, very possible.
Timey Kangaroo Down. Spot. Timey Kangaroo Down.
I literally was there for that episode.
Yeah, you remember?
Yeah, I just remember that now. Yeah.
Yep.
There you go. Did he work at Spookers?
Spookers. Well, go over to LP on the Left for all your social media needs. Go over to YouTube for all our other stuff. There's one place underneath LPN Romance to see the Foreign Report, No Dogs in Space, LPN TV. Come on and check out our YouTube content. Go over and watch Bloodbath, because we're going to be shooting second season very soon.
Yeah.
So go watch that before we put out second season.
Also, come see us on the road, dude. We're going to be in Cincinnati soon. Come to the Cincinnati show. We're selling that thing out. I want to sell that show out. I want Julie's family to see I'm not a fucking piece of shit.
They gotta see. They gotta see. Because right now,
I'm not doing great.
Yeah.
I'm not doing great. And I just want that they gotta know that I'm a good guy.
Yeah.
So come on out to the Taft Theater and let them know. Also, that's going to be on April 25th, the day after. Henry and I are going to be in Lexington doing a side stories. But last podcast is on the road, and we're only doing the show that we've been doing 5 more times.
Yeah. So that is the first time we're saying this, but we will say this into a microphone. We are coming to the end of JK Ultra at the end of this current book. These current book dates, but that doesn't mean we're stopping.
That's right.
Because we're going to be immediately announcing our next tour. Yeah. So it is happening. We're so excited. We're going to be coming up with a new show. But up until, I believe,
Oklahoma City.
That's
where we're ending this tour. JK Ultra dies in Oklahoma City. You heard it here first.
Yes. All right. April 25th, Cincinnati, Ohio. May 29th, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. June 27th, Grand Rapids, Michigan. July 17th, Tulsa, Oklahoma. July 18th, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Come and see JK Ultra live on the fucking road.
Oklahoma.
You know, a lot of stuff dies in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So I think this is appropriate.
Many of my ancestors came very close to dying in Oklahoma during the Dust Bowl.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, it's
Yeah, if that dust didn't kill us, dust can't kill me.
That's right.
Yep, takes a bullet to his head. Hail sweet Satan, everyone.
Hail Geen, there are many things that can kill me.
Hail Mother Teresa, because fuck her.
She was a fucking liar.
Yeah, she was a liar. She was awful.
Jimmy Savile episode, and I don't want to hail someone I like.
Okay, how's about, why don't we help Paul McCartney? Because
he's the good one.
Yeah, well, because like Paul McCartney, it's so funny to read and hear him talk about Jimmy Savile. He's like,
"Goes a bit of a troubler man."
Back at the time, we just told him it's a bit of a tussler, man. But we always made sure that the girls were okay. I'm just not comfortable talking about this. But yeah, Paul McCartney's fine.
Yeah. All the Beatles didn't beat Lemon. John Lennon beat Lemon.
Yeah, and Ringo Starr as well.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, bad alcoholic in the 80s or 90s.
I thought he was just fun.
Peace and love.
No, but he came out and he did admit to it and greatly apologized for it. But
he's working on it.
No song.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, man.
And John Lennon also did address the domestic stuff, and he did also apologize for it as well.
He said, "I'm sorry." He tried, and then he got shot in the fucking back.
And then he got shot. Yeah.
I thought he got shot in the face.
On the back.
Cool.
Yep, in the back
by the CIA.
All you need is love. All you need is love.
Bye-bye.
In Orlando, meetings reach another level thanks to a growing list of award-winning restaurants, a world-class convention center, a great hotel community, easy access through the airport, and of course, the weather. Andrew Moyes, VP of Fan Expo HQ, had this to say about Orlando. Orlando really can be that destination where you can innovate, collaborate, and look into the future. And that's what makes Orlando unbelievably real. Learn more at orlandoforbusiness.com.
This podcast is brought to you by Squarespace. Whether you're just starting out or scaling your business, Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform designed to help your business stand out and succeed online. Squarespace gives you everything you need to offer services and get paid, all in one place. From consultations to events and experiences, showcase your offerings with a customizable website designed to attract clients and grow your business. The best part about it is it can help you design a funnel in which you can very quickly record commercials so that you can get it done while you are desperately trying to get on break. That's the best part about Squarespace. It can really shorten up the time you spend doing things. You got to get in there. Use Squarespace. Man, is it fast. It is absolutely incredible. You're going to love your experience at Squarespace. Head to squarespace.com/left for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use offer code LEFT to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.